everyone. We have a mixed crowd here, so I will mix a few lectures combined. We'll start with some proofs and then we'll go into some more advanced material. Before I start the lecture, I want to know exactly where to start. This is supposed to be a scientific lecture, which means scientific proofs that the Torah is divine. Most Jews in the world, even these days, after 20, 25 years that we use technology to prove that the Torah is divine, which means we take what the scientists, the objective science world discover, and they get a lot of credit, and then we take what they found and we show that everything that they found, the Torah already knew 3,300 years ago in a very primitive generation. For instance, the number of the stars in the universe, the cycle of the renewal of the moon, animals in nature. There's more than 2 million species that the Torah had full control of. So the purpose of these proofs is to show Jews that have doubts if the Torah is divine, that it's the word of God. What's the conclusion of that? If we prove to Jews that the Torah is divine, no, it's okay. If we prove to Jews that the Torah is divine, then next step is that you cannot ignore the book. Everybody understand, right? If the book, it's a question mark, we don't know who wrote it. Rabbis, historians, ordinary people, scientists, everyone with all the respect he deserves, it doesn't really matter. It's a human being like me and you. He's not going to tell me how to live. I give him respect, but between this, to change my entire life and live according to his rules, it's not obligating me. I want to listen, I will. If I don't want to listen, I do whatever I want. But if I'm able to prove that the Torah is divine, which means a person could not write it, no matter even 1,000 people couldn't write this Torah. If I'm able to prove such thing, then the whole story is completely changed. From this moment on, excuse my language, you have to be very, very foolish to ignore such a book. Especially when if you review the book, you see that the book is speaking constantly about reward and punishment. If you're going to do ABC, I will reward you endlessly. For eternity, you and your children, in the afterlife, in this world. And if you do bad, you do whatever you want, you ignore my rules, you ignore my instruction, I will punish you severely in this world and in the afterworld. Nobody wants to suffer. No one is a masochist. If you're masochist, you're mentally ill. Then you dismiss. You don't have to keep the Torah. But if you're a normal human being, I didn't meet any person who wants to suffer, who wants to pay a heavy price, who wants to get punished. Usually people wants to get rewarded, wants to get nice prizes, wants to advance, want to be in a pleasant situation. So it's basically two things. One of the two. You either win big time according to the Torah, if you live according to it, and if you ignore it, you lose big time. So since I'm making such a substantial, such a tremendous claim, all I have to do is to prove that the Torah is divine. So far everything is clear. If I'm able to prove that the Torah is divine, next step is to encourage the people to wake up from their dreams, from their illusions, from their phony lifestyle, from living in illusion, for constantly living in a lie and going to the opposite direction of where they're supposed to go. Wake them up to start slowly but surely, to start advancing and to change their life from A to Z until they reach to a point that every moment of their life they live correctly. It's very simple. So it comes down to one thing. Remember, it comes down to one thing. If I was able to prove, the story is closed. The rest is in your hand. I'm not going to bring a gun and follow you to see you're going to keep it or not. If I'm unable to prove, that's a different story. Now it's up to you if you want to believe or not. But if I'm not able to prove, okay, you can choose whatever you want to do. I said, I will prove for sure, but besides the proof, I say even if I proved only 70%, I will prove 100%. I'm talking from 17 years experience. I know I always made the point clear. No one can argue with what I'm going to show you. But I'm saying, even if I wasn't able to prove, even if I only prove 70%, 50%, 20%, 5%, 5% from my eye, it's not even a proof. It's just a theory. It's 5%. Even if I prove 5% that the Torah is divine, which means I brought some doubts in your mind, just for the benefits of the doubt, just not to take such a risk of, God forbid, losing so much reward that God promised, it's worth it to live according to this book. Even with 5% chance. If somebody comes and tells you, buy a lottery card, you have 5% chance to win. Right now your chance is 0.00000000001 to win. From a billion people who buy a lottery card, you'll be one of them, 1 to a billion. If you get lucky. Maybe nobody would win. Over here, if I tell you your chance to win, according to the Torah, if the Torah is divine, is 5%, that's a very good investment. But let's remove all the doubts. In less than an hour, everything is going to be more than clear, because I'm going to prove to you scientifically that the Torah is divine. Now, I want to ask one question before we start. If I'm able to prove 100% that the Torah is divine, anyone right now here in this room who doesn't live according to the Torah is willing to start change? Or are we going to basically waste our hour? That's the main question here. If you see that this is the book of God, are you going to listen to this God? Or are you going to say, very nice, you prove to me that the Torah is divine. I'm not interested to listen to God. I'll live my way and I'll take my risks. Whatever happened, happened. Which one of the two kinds you are? You want to live in a life for the rest of your life? Or you want to finally wake up and start? I know you're not going to be a rabbi tomorrow. Don't get me wrong. Not tomorrow, not next year. But I'm asking, if you're going to see that this is a divine book, is tomorrow morning going to be a different morning for you? Or it's going to be business as usual? Okay, beautiful. Because why I'm saying it? Because I meet two different kinds of people. People who likes to live in a lie, doesn't bother them. It's like their conscience is not working. They do whatever they want. They know that it's divine. They know everything. And they continue to do. And people who, as soon as they see it, right away they make a sharp turn in their life. So, okay, up to now I didn't know anything. Now when I know, that's it. Now tell me what's the next step. Which one of the two you are? You want to live completely for the rest of your life in the way you lived until now? Or finally, when you're going to see that it's a divine book, you're going at least to read it and to see what's the requirements, what Hashem wants from you as human being and why He puts you over here. Which one of the two you are? Who is going to consider a change? Raise his hand. Don't be embarrassed. If you don't consider a change, you can keep your hand down.
First, let's hear what you're selling. Maybe.
No. I'm only speaking, assuming that I proved 100% that the book is divine. If I didn't prove, you do whatever you want. I'm saying after I proved...
I believe.
No, believing means not knowing. We are not talking about believing. We're talking about proof, which means 100% proof. Just like I can prove that it's night outside. You understand? That's it. Just that I can prove that I have a laptop in front of me. I don't need a lot. I can prove it. Things that can be proven, it's 100%, not 99%. 100%. Very good. So at least it's worth it for us to spend an hour together. Just by the way, of course, I won't show you the entire lecture because it takes 4 hours. I'm just going to show you a little bit. And over here, the rest of it, you have it in English and in Hebrew. You have the entire DVD. It's very recommended. You see the entire thing. It's divided to 3 different categories. First hour, it's proving that the Jews stood in Mount Sinai 3,300 years ago and received the Torah from God directly. And they heard the voice of God, proving scientifically that it really happened. And since then, the Torah was transferred from generation to generation. Part 2 is all the proofs I'm going to show. It's proving that not only the written Torah is divine, the oral Torah, what we call in Hebrew Torah shebe'al peh, which came together as a unit with the Torah shebichtav, also came at the same time together, one comply with the other. And obviously I'm going to show you that the oral Torah is divine, that a person didn't have the knowledge that the oral Torah has, only the creator of the world. And the third thing is, what's all the most frequent questions that people ask in their life? If God knows the future, how do I have a choice? If he already knew the future. Why righteous people suffer? What's the purpose of life? How do I know there's life after life? What is the difference between believing and knowing? All these things that everyone asks in their life, what are we doing here? What's this entire creation is for? How do I know there's really going to be a huge reward for the righteous Jews and it's going to be a major punishment to the wicked Jews? How do I know all these things? Maybe people made it up and now I have to believe it. So of course, the way I do it is only based on proofs. I have plenty of things that I can show, but I can't prove it 100%. I ignore it. I only speak about things that anyone in the world who will challenge me would lose the argument for sure. And I'm talking to you from 17 years of experience. I have scientists, I have people from NASA, I have people from university, professor, the controller of New York, priests, anyone you can think of who argue with me, they always lose. Why? Not because it's me. Because the Torah, it's not open for debates. Most people who make comments against the Torah is just because they are ignorant in the Torah. Sometimes they pretend they know, they pretend. Sometimes they know that they do not know, but they still do cheap manipulation to fool the people. And sometimes, it's people who just understand that they don't know, but have no problem criticizing a book that they never read once in their life. As a matter of fact, since I speak for so many years and I met so many thousands of people, I always like to ask people, tell me please, before you criticize the Torah, before you have anything to say against religion, before you speak about rabbis, before you speak about the Gemara, before you speak about any law, did you ever read the Torah once in your life from the beginning to the end just to understand the simple meaning of the words? Forget about Kabbalah, secrets, mystical parts of Judaism. Forget about all that. Just the simple meaning of the words. What does it mean, Lo tevashel gdi b'chalev imo? What does it mean, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe? Why sometimes it's Vaidaber Hashem el Moshe? Why Vayomer Hashem el Moshe? Why sometimes you say in the language of Tzav? What's the difference between Tzav? What does it mean, Vayi achar advarim haele? Do you understand the meaning of the words or no? That's the question. The answer is, until this moment, I never found one person that read the Torah from A to Z and can translate every word of the Torah. But people have no problem criticizing the Torah, admitting that they have no idea what the words of the Torah means. It's very interesting, because imagine I go to a Chinese book and half of the words I don't understand. I understand few words. Everybody understands few words from the Torah. After all, the Israelis, one who learn Hebrew, they can understand some of the words of the Torah, even though it's an ancient Hebrew, it's Lashon Kodesh, right? But what I'm saying is that people who basically read the Torah, they understand some of the words, but there are many words that they don't understand. So if you have problems understanding the book, how do you dare criticizing a book that you don't even understand the simple meaning of the words? So let's move on. Let's start. So the rule is like this. First step of the lecture is proving that there is a creator to the world. Second step of the lecture is proving that the creator of the world gave the Jewish nation his book, what we call the Torah. Torah in Hebrew means orah, instructions. Third part of the lecture is proving that this Torah that we are presenting to you today, it's really the original Torah that the Creator gave to the Jews. How do we know the rabbis didn't change it? How do we know that people did not modify it? How do we know these things? Maybe people added, maybe people add more. Maybe there's certain things we have to, the Torah was given by God and the rabbis added another 50% to it. There's a lot of questions that people ask. How do I know that this Torah is really what God gave? So the answer is, here is the answer, it's all in front of you. Shh. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now, shh. The rule is every creation has a creator. We never found a creation without someone who created it. You see a camera, there is a Japanese manufacturer who made this camera. You see a chair, there's a Chinese manufacturer. You see a watch, you know there's a Swiss manufacturer. You see an Uzi gun, you know there's an Israeli manufacturer. Everything has a manufacturer, engineer who designed it, and a technician or a company who actually brings it into a complete product. Every creation has a creator. The more sophisticated is the creation, it indicates about the brilliance of the creator. So if we have to make a chair, it's very easy to make a chair. One day of training, you know how to make a chair. But if you want to make a laptop, it will take you months to learn how to make a laptop. You understand? So what's happening is like this. The more advanced is the creation, we know more about the ability of the creator, right? So for instance, if we have a brain, we see a brain has 10 trillion connections, more than all the telecommunication companies in the world, multiplied by 100. Which means if you take all the wires of telephone companies and wireless and computer and internet all over the world, it still won't be 1% of one brain. Now you have 7 billion brains in the world approximately. That's not including animals, that they also have a brain. So there are perhaps trillion brains in the world. Even one of them, it's already 100 times greater than the entire world system, network. Can we claim that this brain was made by itself? Obviously, you have to be a total fool to think that this brain was able to be created by a bomb or by a random explosion. It doesn't make any sense. Not only that, we see that 80% of the brain is liquid. And the wires inside the liquid are so complicated, one inside the other, and if one of them will be ripped, if one wire will rip, the person will die right away from blood, leak of the blood in the brain. That's what happened to Ariel Sharon, the Prime Minister of Israel, will put the person in coma for the rest of his life until he dies. So from 10 trillion wires, it's enough that one tiny one, and just that you know, if you take a wire from the brain, one hair that you pull out of your hair, one hair, it's 1,000 times thicker than the wires inside the brain. You know what big microscope you need in order for you to look in the brain? They have a very, very thick lens that it shows them to the doctors when they do an open brain surgery. That's very, very thin. So if one of them will be ripped, and inside of that blood is going through every place in the brain. It's a very, very complicated system. Basically, if you take all the technology in the world combined, it still won't get to the level of one brain of a human being. To claim that something like this was done by itself, a person that does it, in my humble opinion, deserves right away to be hospitalized in a mental institution. There's no other words to describe such a fool. Because to claim something like this was done by an accident and then repeat itself billions of times, who would claim such a foolish claim, right? And this is just to prove. Please, too much noise. I'm sorry. So to claim such a claim, it's very, very not rational. Then the next step is, did we ever find a claim? Did we ever find a claim that, did we ever find a creation that was made for no reason, without a purpose? Did you ever find anything that was done by someone, a chair, a camera, a stand, air condition, lights, anything that you ever saw in the creation? Find one thing from the beginning of time until the end of time. Did you ever see anything that was designed and created by a human being anywhere in the world that a person can say, I made it, and what's the purpose of your creation? He said, no purpose. I don't know. I just made it. You don't find things like this. Why? Because everything that a person ever made, first of all, he planned what he wants. First, there was a desire. There was a wish. I want light. How do I make light? I have to make wires. I have to take light bulbs. I have to do all these things. If I have it, if I want light, so now in my head, I'm designing how to create light bulbs. If I want a chair to sit on, now I design it that it needs to have 4 legs and a place to lean on, and the size of it, and the height of it, and the cushion of it. It's all designed based on what I want. After I know what I want, then I design my creation. But we never found anything that was made without a purpose. Is it possible to think that this world was created by a creator, and the creator did not have a purpose for the world? Just like that. He designed such a beautiful world, and he put us over here, and we control nature. All the animals and the raw material is all under our hands. And to claim that this creation was made for no reason, it has to be a purpose. So the question that we have now, what is the purpose of the creation? I'm a part of the creation. I have to know my role in this world. There's a reason why I'm here. Nothing is done without a reason. So the creator of the world, whoever it's going to be, it's not relevant right now. First, we have to understand there is a creator and he made this world for a purpose. Since I'm a part of this creation, I have to check and investigate what is my role here. I wasn't just made for no reason. I was made for a reason. Now come the next claim. After I understand that I was made for a reason by an anonymous creator, we call him an anonymous now. The next thing is it possible that this brilliant anonymous creator made the world without telling the people that we see that the people have free choice, they can choose what to do, good and bad. So we see we are different than the animals. Is it possible that he did not tell humanity why he put us here? So what's the purpose? Did you ever buy any item without a manual that explained to you how to use it? You buy a laptop, you need a manual, you need to know how to use it. You don't have it, you don't know what to do with that. You buy a television, you need a manual. Anything you buy today comes with an explanation. How to do, how to assemble it, how to use it, what not to do, warnings, etc. So is it possible that the creator did not give a book of instruction? All these questions we're going to answer in the next hour. So rule number 1, we already, I believe, we understand that this creation was made by someone. We also know that this someone has abilities that we don't have. We couldn't create a brain. We couldn't create a human being. We couldn't create a lion or a tiger or a monkey or the things that this world has. We couldn't create diamonds from nothing. We couldn't create water. We don't have these abilities. So, or oxygen, or we couldn't plan such a beautiful creation. We don't have these abilities. So obviously the creator is a much, much more sophisticated thing than us. So the ones who created us, we have to understand now, did he really give Torah? Come Judaism and claim that 3,300 years ago, he came to the Jewish nation and he told them, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I took you out of Egypt, and I'm making a covenant with you today. This is Moses. He is my prophet. I'm giving him this Torah. Torah means instructions. All of you have to live according to this book, and if you're going to listen to my instructions, I will reward you in your end. In the time of death, the soul will come out of the body and will go to heaven, and over there you're going to get endless amount of reward that you cannot even imagine in this world. There's no reward, such great reward like the afterlife. However, if you're going to go against me, you're going to be ungrateful to me, you're going to rebel against my instruction, you're going to ignore my instruction, etc., there's going to be a very heavy price to pay. So everything in this world is based on reward and punishment. The reward, if you be righteous and you follow my instructions, אם תלכו בחוקותיי ועשיתם אותם, ושמרתם את מצוותיי, כן? ונתתי שלום בארץ, וברכה, וחרב לא תעבור בארצכם. All these verses in the Torah, it's conditional. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you'll get bad. The timing, measure for measure. The timing of the good and the bad, it's up to me. It's not instant. If you did good, don't accept the reward. Don't expect the reward 2 minutes later. No. It can be 20 years later. But the reward is guaranteed. If you did something bad, don't expect the punishment 2 minutes later. It can be 50 years later. It can be when the soul is moving to a new body, which what we call reincarnation. I have a whole lecture about life after death. It's very interesting. You see it, you'll understand there's life after death without any doubt. So now the question is like this. Why the reward and the punishment is not instant, not right away? It will be very fair, no? You stole, you lose double, like the Torah say. You killed, you get killed. You punch someone, you get punched. Would be very nice, no? The reason is, it would eliminate the free choice that we have. We have a choice. We choose to do good and bad. If someone would do a violation of the Torah, he will get punished right away. The second one will get punished right away. That's it. From that moment on, no one will dare to make a sin. Why? The punch is coming right away. Who wants to make a sin? Who will have the guts to light a cigarette on Shabbat, knowing his friend did it and just explode to pieces? No one would do it. Or, if somebody gave donation to the poor, and a minute later doubled his money, and then he gave donation, and again he made double money. Do you know anyone who wouldn't give donations all day? So the world would not be a place of a test. Now the Torah come and say, Ki menaseh Hashem etchem. I'm testing you to see, are you going to keep my mitzvot or not? Are you going to listen to me or not? Are you going to be faithful to me or not? All these things, it's in the Torah to teach us that the life, this place, the earth, the world of material, is a place of a test. This test will end in a time of death. When the person falls to the floor, the soul came out of the body is dead, finished, no more soul inside. The soul rises to the court of heaven, 1 year trial. That's why in Judaism we say Kaddish for people who died for 1 year. It's no coincidence. Everything is according to the book. 1 year there's a trial. The entire life of a person is been analyzed on a screen. Every beep, every step, everything he ever did is either a reward or a punishment. He went to learn Torah, reward. Every step is reward. He went to do bad things, every step is a sin. He had relation with his wife in a kosher way, it's a mitzvah, it's a good thing. He did it with someone he is not supposed to, it's against the rules of God, he's going to get punished for that. He gave donation, he helped needy people as a reward. He stole from people, there's a punishment. Everything will be analyzed for good and for bad, and in the end the person will find himself in a good place, in a bad place, or in a very bad place. Depend how severe is his sins. It can be a very, very good place. It's all 100% in the hand of a person. The Torah explains that not like the animal that live with instinct, they don't choose what to do, they live based on instinct. You come with fire, they run away. You put water, they jump in. They're hungry, they attack. There's no way to talk to the lion and say, don't touch the zebra, poor zebra. Wait 5 minutes, we'll bring you food. No, he's hungry, he's going to attack. There's no way to convince him. But people can use their common sense to decide to do good and to do bad. And of course, the more they learn the rules of God, they will understand what is the ultimate good and what is the ultimate bad. If people would not learn the rules of God, how they know? How are they going to know what's good to do, what's bad to do? All right, so let's move on. If there is a superpower, and he gave a book, obviously we cannot expect to see a mistake in the book. If we find a mistake in a book, for instance, if the book would claim that the Twin Towers collapsed in Brooklyn, is this something that God, this superpower, is able to make such mistake? If he did not know such an important event in history where it took place, how can I rely on such a God? If he gives me a book, if I'm the prophet, and I came to you in the name of God, and I gave you this book, and you open the book, and you see there used to be 2 twin buildings, and they fell in Brooklyn. All of you would say, I'm sorry, it happened in Manhattan. And I say, no, here, the book says it happened in Brooklyn. Now, all of you know it happened in Manhattan. Now, would you even consider keeping the laws of this book, or you know right away it's fake and it's not divine? You know right away it's fake, no? That's why there's no room for mistakes. If you find one mistake in the Torah, then you know God never gave it. Now, you may come and say, wait a minute. Just because there's a mistake in one chapter in the Torah, doesn't mean the entire book is not from God. Maybe God gave it, and people changed it. They copied, they add, they put more, less. So they changed it. So now some of it is from God, some of it is from people. Therefore, if you found a mistake, doesn't mean the book is not from God. The answer would be, so what? Let's say that you're right. It's not relevant, because once you find a mistake in the Torah, you do not know which parts of the Torah it's from God, which parts it's from people. Therefore, if you already know that people modify the Torah, it's not a divine book anymore. There's no way to prove. Then you cannot rely on a book. Maybe Shabbat is the second mistake. Maybe people made it up. Maybe putting tefillin is a mistake. Maybe eating kosher, it's a mistake. How would we know which one is from God, which one is from people? There's no way to know, right? So therefore, if we find one mistake in a book, it's impossible to rely on this book and consider it divine. So far, everything is clear? Any question up to now, before I start to show the slides? Any question up to now? Everything I made so far made sense to you? Clear? Okay, let's move on. So a superpower doesn't make mistakes. Today, we have more than 80,000 religions and cults in the world. There's a huge list. It will take you years to review each cult and each religion. Every week there's new religions, new cults, new groups. So the question is, they all obviously claim they have the truth. They all claim that they have something divine, right? If a person wants to start checking 80,000 religions and cults, he has to live 7,000 years. There's not enough time in 7 years that you live here to check so many truths, so many claims. So how do? You go to the first one. In case you did not know, Judaism, as I said, is more than 3,300 years. Christianity is less than 2,000 years. Islam is less than 1,400 years. Buddhism, it's less than 2,400 years. Those are the 4 main religions in the world. Hinduism, it's hundreds of millions of people, but they don't really have any claim that they got anything divine. They don't have it. They don't claim that they have a book. Same thing Buddhism. Buddhism was one person named Buddha. He claimed he saw the light, but he didn't claim that God gave him a book or anything like that. So Hinduism and Buddhism, it's really a way of life. It doesn't really claim that they have anything divine. But Christians, for instance, they claim that God gave them part 2, the New Testament. He gave the Jews the Old Testament, what we call the Torah, and they claim that God gave them part 2, which means it's the same God that gave an extra part of his book. Same thing Muslims. Muslims come and say, yeah, the Jews got the Old Testament. The Christian got the New Testament, the Brit HaChadashah. And now we got the Quran, which is part 3 of this God. So they're admitting that the Torah is divine. They also, believe it or not, most people don't know it, but they also don't challenge Christianity. They also claim it's also from God. But now God gave the Quran, which is the last prophet, what they call Muhammad. Let's talk a little bit about this. Okay, let's move on. This is how easy it is to prove that a religion is all fake. This is an example of, you can see all the sources in the bottom, like here you have surah, that means it's places in the Quran. This is a part from the Quran. You have it in English, you have it in Hebrew. Pharaoh and Haman and their advisor were sinners. That's in Surah 40, verse 36, 37. Remember, since the Muslims and the Christians admitted that the Jews received the Torah, millions of Jews heard the voice of God giving Moshe or Musa or Moses, same person, giving Moses the Torah. The Jews received the Torah from God. They're not challenging that. They're admitting 100%. Therefore, any book that came after from the same God have to comply with the Torah. It cannot be that God didn't remember what he wrote in the Torah and now he writes the opposite in the next book. Even people like us don't make such mistakes. Not that fast. We can make mistakes, but people who knows the Torah, if they write another book, a fake book, as a continuation of the Torah, the more knowledgeable you are in the Torah, the less mistake you make. But if you're totally ignorant, you don't know anything in the Torah, you're like in first grade level, then you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So the Quran and the New Testament, the people who wrote it, they were in a very, very low level. If you took them today and you have to rate them, there will be maximum first grade students, which means 6 or 7 years old. Because little children from our yeshivot today here in Brooklyn, you ask them questions that the Quran or the New Testament make mistake on, the kids will not make that mistake. So you see that the Goyim that wrote this, the Gentiles who wrote it, they had very, very limited knowledge in the Torah. That's why they made so many mistakes, and we got lucky. We, the Jews, got lucky because it takes us maximum 5 minutes to prove that the Quran and the New Testament, it's all fake. God never gave it. Then I will prove to you how we know the Torah is divine. But one thing at a time. So it says here, Pharaoh and Haman and their advisor were sinners. Pharaoh said to his servant, I know you have no God besides me. How did they know that Pharaoh claimed he's God? It's in the Torah. The Torah said that Pharaoh was pretending that he's God. So, Vayomer el Haman, and he said to Haman, go light the fire, etc., whatever. Now, there's already one critical mistake here, because Pharaoh and Haman could never meet. The last Pharaoh was about 900 years before Haman was born. So when Pharaoh wanted to claim whatever he wanted to claim, obviously Haman will only be born almost 1,000 years later. Yeah? So what happened is, is between Pharaoh and Haman, there could never be a conversation or a meeting, because Pharaoh died, and only almost 1,000 years later, Haman was in Persia, Pharaoh is in Egypt. But the one who wrote it looked at the Tanakh, the 24 books of Judaism, and he saw that the old one, that's the Old Testament, what they call the Old Testament, speaking about Pharaoh, and he saw in Megillat Esther that it's speaking about Haman. And what happened? He made a fake conversation between Pharaoh and Haman. But obviously, he made a critical mistake because they could never meet. So this is a part in the Quran.
But could be that they didn't mean the same amount from Megillat Esther. Could mean another amount.
No, but they bring two sinners, which is Pharaoh and Haman, and they have a conversation that they want to go and rebel against God. So obviously, we don't find anywhere in the Tanakh another person whose name is Haman. The only person in the Tanakh that is named Haman is in Megillat Esther.
Doesn't have to be that they mean the same, that they refer to the same Haman that we refer to.
No, but they never claim that he's a different Haman. That's the whole point. They claim that it's the same Pharaoh and Haman, the two wicked one, but they just miscalculated the difference on here.
How do you know that out of the...
Yeah, because you can ask them, you can challenge them, and you can see that they don't have, well, maybe today they try to find a way out of it, but this is a human error that was mamash in the book. Now let me give you another example of another mistake. It says that the wife of Pharaoh is raising Moshe. We know in the Torah it says, Batya bat Paro. Batya, she's a daughter of Paro. In the Quran it says, Vatomer eshet Paro, the wife of Paro say, Hu yeh nechama li velachem. Don't kill the baby. We may have a use for him. We may have a use for him. So this is in Surah 28, verse 7 to 9. And this is what it says. When Maria, listen good, when Maria brought the baby in her hand to the people of her town, they told her, now they're speaking about Maria, the mother of Jesus, the mother of JC. So they say, oh Maria, what a strange thing you brought to us. Oh, the sister of Aaron, your father was not a bad man and your mother was not a prostitute. And then it says under there, Maria, daughter of Amram. So let me conclude what I just showed. They made a mistake between two different Miriams. There's one Miriam, the sister of Aaron and Moshe, Miriam the prophet. So Miriam and Aaron and Moshe were brothers. That was 3,300 years ago. Then there was another Miriam in history, the mother of JC. She met Joseph the carpenter. They got engaged, they got married, and he went out of town. He never touched her. He came back after a few months and he saw she's pregnant. How a virgin can be pregnant? That means she cheated. But instead of saying she cheated, she said, God came to me in a dream and made me pregnant. I'm still a virgin. Virgin Mary or Maria or Miriam, same woman. So now, according to the Quran, Miriam, the sister of Moshe, is the same Miriam, the mother of JC. But everybody understands that they're 1,300 years apart. Miriam, the sister of Moshe and Aaron, was 3,300 years ago. And this Miriam that they're speaking about was only 2,000 years ago. So they took the story of the mother of JC who became pregnant, and they told her, oh, the sister of Aaron, the daughter of Amram, what is this baby? How can you be pregnant? So this is very interesting, because according to the Quran, the mother of JC is the sister of Moshe, which means Moshe Rabbeinu is the uncle of JC. You understand? So this is such ridiculous mistakes that if you look at that, you see right away, the Quran could never be written by the real God. It's full of human errors. Now, if you know a little bit history, when Muhammad received the Quran, the Muslims admit, you can read in their text, that he was a total Am Haaretz and total analphabetic, which means he did not know how to read and how to write. He claimed that Angel Gabriel gave him the Quran, and after all, he said to somebody parts of what he or supposedly the angel told him, and he wrote it down, and that's how he became the Quran. There's only one problem. He had 4 different wives. Each one of them, you can go into the internet and search how many texts the Quran has. There's hundreds of different Qurans. But even in his own life, 4 different wives of him already had a different Quran. Everyone who copied from him copied with mistakes, that in his own life, every one of his wives have a different Quran. So now even if the angel gave him the Quran, already in his generation it was dismissed. Because if you have 4 different books, which one is the original book of God, you'll never know. Same thing in the New Testament. If you ask today how many different texts the New Testament has, more than 200,000 copies. 200,000 different texts. Each text is different than the other. Here a New Testament and another one and another one. Each one is different than the other. So even if God really gave it, which one he gave, you'll never know. It's gone from the world. But the Torah that everyone was trying to destroy, the Torah is still the same Torah everywhere you go. Imagine if we have 200,000 different Torahs. How can you be religious when you don't know which book was the original book of God? In case you did not know, according to the Torah, if you missed one letter in a Torah, one Yud, you wrote the Torah, one letter is missing, Yud. The Torah, it's not kosher. You cannot read in it, you cannot make a bracha, you can't do it. So if you want to send a book from Israel to America, all you have to do is to leave the last word not full. You wrote the entire Torah, the last word you didn't write. You can put the Torah inside the suitcase and throw it. Why? Because it's missing a word or even missing a letter. Missing a letter, it's not a kosher book. It's not a kosher book, it's not divine. Doesn't have the holiness. Once it's full, everyone rise, everyone kiss it, we learn in it, fine. But you take out one letter, you have to put it out, you cannot use it. Nothing. It's a piece of nothing, piece of paper. Why? If it's divine, it has to be 100% divine. If it's missing a letter, it's not divine anymore. It's almost divine. Almost doesn't count. So let's give another example. According to the Quran, Israel belongs only to the Jews. I always say if the Jews would know a little bit Islam, they could use the Quran in the United Nations as the best proof that Israel belongs to us. We didn't need all these political arguments. All they had to do is to bring the surahs that you have in front of you, right? Surah 5, Surah 7, Surah 10, 17, 28. It says clearly that God promised the land to the Jews. He took them out of Egypt. He gave them the land. He blessed them. These are the chosen people. This is all from the Quran. But the Jews obviously do not know, not Quran, and unfortunately the Israeli politicians have no idea what the Torah is. Not one Israeli politician knows Torah, besides the ultra-Orthodox one that sits in the Knesset. But all the secular ones have no idea what the Torah is. Never learned Torah in their life. So obviously they do not know. I one time read an article, an interview with Yasser Arafat by an Israeli reporter. Yasser Arafat were telling the Israeli reporter things and he was fooling him. He was changing the verses in the Torah, but the Israeli fool did not know even Aleph Bet, what they teach in kindergartens. So he didn't know who is Melchizedek. He didn't know anything. He didn't have no idea what the Torah is. So Yasser Arafat was fooling him. He said, we cousins, we do this, that. The Israeli politician, if he knew a little bit, then he doesn't have to be a rabbi. Just he knew a little bit, it would crush him to pieces in this argument and show him that he's a liar and the Torah, and God gave the Torah to the Jews, the Eretz Israel to the Jews. But the Israelis did not know what the Torah is, unfortunately, and that's what happened. Okay, now let's move on. Even the Quran, by the way, it says in Surah 46, verse 11, it says, before the Quran, the Torah was given to Moshe with instructions and kindness. And the Quran is in the Arabic language. Muhammad said to the Muslims like this, in Surah 4, verse 135, this is what it says. The believers believe in Allah and His Messenger that gave the book to His Messenger and the Torah that was given before. It's in the Quran. They admit in the Quran that the Torah was given by God before, right? And it says, I'm not renewing anything in my book, Muhammad supposedly said, it's in Surah 46, that was not told by the other prophets before me, right? And the Surah 10, verse 94, look how easy it is to disprove this entire religion. In Surah 94, it says, if you have a doubt in anything about the Quran that was given to you, go and ask the nation of Israel that received and learned the Torah book before you. So we see that the Quran, the Torah is more precise than the Quran, and if there's any doubt about anything, you have to go to the Quran, to the Torah. So the question is now, we're going to read in the Quran many things that is the opposite of the Torah. Many things. The Torah say A, they say the opposite. The Torah say B, they say the opposite. Right? For instance, the Torah said that the Jews are the chosen people. God said to the Jews, you are my children. I chose you from all the nation to be mine. Do not imitate or marry the Gentiles. You're not allowed. So in the Quran it say in one place that every Jew behind the tree, kill him. How can it be? God said, this is my children. I made an eternal covenant between them because I swore to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. In other places in the Quran, it said that the Jews are blessed people. So they have to make up their mind. There's a lot of contradiction. One place it said, they're the children of God, and God took them out of Egypt and gave them the land. And another place it say, it will be a day you have to kill every Jew you see. So there's a lot of contradictions over there, and lots of human errors. Now, the New Testament, it's even more ridiculous than the Quran. Why? Because the human errors there are, you just can't count how many, almost in every page. For instance, JC is the hero of the New Testament. Everybody understand. So JC in book Matthew 5, verse 17 to 19, JC said to his followers, now remember, JC died a Jew. He never became another nation. He died as a Jew. He had bar mitzvah, he put tefillin, he was keeping Shabbat, until a point that he started to teach things against the sages, the rabbis. But even him in the New Testament, they write that he said to his followers things that leaves no doubt that you cannot be Christian. I'll show you in a minute what I mean. But one thing we have to know, JC never started Christianity. Christianity started anywhere between 70 to 300 years after his death. Which means even if we go with 70 years after his death, that's already 4 generations. The people who started the New Testament never saw who JC was. I don't know the grandfather of my grandfather. I don't know who he is. It's too far, 70 years ago, where he lived. So if I come and tell you any story I want about him, it's very easy. I can tell you whatever I want. My grandfather walked on water. My grandfather had wings and used to fly. My grandfathers, he used to feed 300 people with 1 loaf of bread. I can tell you anything you want, but that's not how you follow a religion based on stories. You need some sufficient proofs. So let me give you an example. This is in the book of Matthew, which is a part of the New Testament. It says like this, JC is speaking now. Based on this alone, there's no way to have Christianity in the world. No way. Why? JC say, do not think I came to contradict the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to contradict. I came to fulfill. Obviously, I'm telling you today, if heaven and earth will be destroyed, you can still not erase 1 letter from the Torah, 1 yud, which is the smallest letter, which like a dot. You cannot erase 1 yud from the Torah. Not even a part of the yud, kutzo shel yud, the edge of the letter. They will all remain. Therefore, if someone will change the smallest mitzvah in the Torah, the smallest one, and will teach otherwise to others, will be cursed by the kingdom of heaven. Which means if someone will change 1 mitzvah from the Torah, God will curse him. Who said it? JC, the hero of Christianity, that it's all based on him, that he's the Messiah, he will come to the world, he will save them. That's what they believe. And what did he say? You have to be a Jew. You have to be an Orthodox Jew. You must keep Shabbat, you must keep tefillin, you have to eat kosher. So what Christians follow their heroes? Not even one in the world. That's enough for a normal person to know this is nonsense. Cannot be Christian, cannot be. You want to be Christian? First, you have to listen to your hero. What's your hero say? You cannot change one letter from the Torah and not one mitzvah. Do they keep one mitzvah? They keep kosher, they keep Shabbat, they keep the laws, nothing. They don't keep one mitzvah from the Torah. So it's right there enough to finish with this religion. But it gets even better. In the Torah it says that Abraham bought the cave of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, where the fathers and the mothers are buried. He bought it from Ephron Achiti, and it's in the city of Hebron. And that's where Jacob were buried. And the father of Shechem, the Torah says, Hamor is the father of Shechem, Shechem ben Hamor. How many Jews went to Egypt with Jacob when he went to Egypt? 70. That's what the Torah says. Now you go to the New Testament, everything is the other way around. First thing, Jacob went to Egypt and died there. And Jacob and his children went to Egypt, they died there, and they took them to the city of Shechem. Shechem, it's Nablus in English, not to Hebron. And they buried them over there, in a grave that Abraham bought from the children of Hamor in Shechem. Two mistakes in one verse. Abraham never bought it from Hamor, from Shechem. Abraham bought it from Ephron. And the city, the Me'arat HaMachpelah, every fool knows that it's in the city of Hebron. It's a very famous place. But they made a mistake. They wrote it's in the city of Shechem. What happened to God? He doesn't know when Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were buried. How can he write in the New Testament that it's in the city of Shechem? So this is an example how you know the book is fake. Also, Jacob went to Egypt with 75 people. What happened to God? He doesn't remember that it was 70. Now he wrote in his new book 75. What kind of God is this? If he doesn't remember history, how can I rely on him? And there's thousands of mistakes. Obviously, we didn't come here to speak about Islam and Christianity. I just wanted to use it as a tool to show you that it takes 5 to 10 minutes the most to prove that the book is not divine. Now let's talk about the Torah. Next half an hour, and then if you have questions and the rest, you can take the CDs and watch the entire picture. The Torah was given way before Christianity and way before Islam. Remember, Islam, 1400 years ago. Christianity, 2000 years ago. Judaism, 3,300 years ago. So it's way before them. The Torah speaking about Christianity and Islam. Is it possible? What are you saying? Is it possible that the Torah is speaking about Christianity and Islam? Islam can speak about Christianity and the Torah. Christianity can speak about the Torah. How can the Torah speak about Christianity and Islam? There's only one way. If it's a divine book, God knows the future, so he spoke about fake religions. Where does the Torah speak about Christianity and Islam? Right in front of you. Before I will show you, first let me explain to you something that in case you don't know. There are hidden codes inside the Torah. It was discovered more than 20 years ago with the help of the computer. The computer is helping us to find codes. What does it mean, codes? Let me explain. If I want to send a spy to Iran to tell me what's happening there, so I tell him, write to me a story, baloney, whatever you want. I went to the supermarket, I went to the beach, I got up, I went to sleep, whatever you want to write. You and I know that every 49 letters count. So I circle the first letter, I count 49 letters, the 50th letter I circle. I count 49 letters, the letter number 100, I circle, 150, 200, 250, 300, etc. And then I erase all the rest, and now I have a new story. That's called equal mathematical skip, which means it's planted in the text by you and I. I am the commander and you are the spy. That's how we transfer information between one to another. So far it's clear? Now, if he writes to me how many bombs are in Iran and how many things are happening under the ground over there, it's no problem. He sees what's there and he writes. Can he write to me what's going to happen 100 years from now in Iran? Can he write in a letter in codes who is going to be the president of Iran in 100 years from now? Or 1,000 years from now? Huh? Can he write such thing? But the Torah, not only that the Torah has equal mathematical skip, which is amazing, soon you're going to see, the Torah writes about events that will happen in the future, which leaves no doubt that technically no human being can plant codes in a book by telling two stories, one inside the other. Technically, it's impossible to do, especially when there's no computers. And it gets even better. Not only that he does it, technically, when people have no ability to do such thing, every one of these codes is speaking about what's going to happen in 1,000 or 2,000 years later. Let me explain what I mean. Look good. Here, it says like this. The Jews getting a warning from God. This is what he says. Lo ta'arichun yamim alea. God said to the Jews, if you're not going to listen to me, I will spread you all over the world, and you will not be able to survive there. Why? Because ishamet ishamdun. The goyim will destroy you. You get destroyed. Ve'efitz Hashem etchem ba'amim. I will spread you in all the nations. Ve'nish'artem etei mispar bagoyim. Only few of you will survive among the Gentiles, as God is directing you there. Okay? And you will worship there fake gods. Fake gods. The God of the wood and the God of the stone. That will not see, will not hear, cannot do anything. This is now, the Torah warned the Jews. One day, you get on my nerve, God say, and I'm going to spread you in the nations, and the Goyim will not leave you 1 minute in rest. The Goyim will not leave you alone. They'll destroy you, and only few of you will survive. This is a total prophecy. Because we should have been like the Chinese people. The Jews are the children of Sem. Shem is the son of Noach. Sem, our father, was the uncle of the Chinese. Read in Parashat Noach. The Chinese is the grandson of Ham, and Shem is the brother of Ham. So Shem is the uncle of the Sini. So they are 1.5 billion with restriction on birth. The Jews should have been minimum 1.5 billion, but we only 13.2 million Jews. Not even 1% of 1% of what we're supposed to be. And the Torah took a big risk. The Torah said only few of you will survive. Ki atem ha'me'at mikol ha'amim. Right? This is what the Torah says. How did he know there will be less than all the nations? It's against all odds. We are a very old nation. And the Torah says like this. Not only few of you will survive, you will worship fake gods. God of the wood and the God of the stone. Who knows who's the God of the wood, God of the stone? The Christian always say knock on wood, right? Everything they knock on wood. Many Israelis don't know what it means, so they also do it. That's a Christian thing. And the Muslim have a stone. The wood is the cross that made from wood. And that's their belief that JC was hung on this cross, right? And the Muslim have the big stone in Mecca. Everyone goes every year in Ramadan to Saudi Arabia. There's a huge rock there. That's the rock over there. So the symbol of Islam is that rock.
That's what they throw rocks.
Yeah, and the symbol of Christianity is knock on wood, is that Christian cross. So the God of the wood and the God of the rock, Christianity and Islam. Now you may come and tell me you made a beautiful analogy, but it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. How do you know they speak about Christianity and Islam? How do you know? So the answer is, now I'm going to prove to you. Listen good. If you take the Torah from this Yud and you count 50 letters, 1, 2, 3, and you get to the letter Shin, you count 50 letters, the 50th letter will be Vav. What do you get? Yud, Shin, and Vav. What's Yud, Shin, and Vav? Yeshu, JC. The name of JC in the Torah, Yud, Shin, Vav in equal skip. Then you take Mecca, right here. Mem, you go reverse, 50 letters. Chav, 50 letters, Hey. So, in a verse, in a Torah, there's thousands of verses, thousands of psukim. The verse that's speaking about two fake religions, the religion of the wood and the religion of the rock, just in this verse, there is a planted code of JC and Mecca. Something like this can be by coincidence or no? What do you think? No. Who thinks it can be coincidence? Raise his hand. Huh? Did you get the proof or no?
Where do you begin? With
Here, Yud.
No, 1 second. Let me finish my question. Where do you begin with your formula with 50 counting? Where do you start?
I started to answer you. Yud, 50 letters, Shin, 50 letters, Vav.
But But here's your yud. Tarifin, you have yud too. Yamim, you have yud.
No, you didn't get what I said.
Maybe not.
Inside the text, there are planted codes, right? Now, when I put in the computer the word Yeshu, Yud Shin Vav, I ask the computer to find me if these three words appear in the Torah in equal skip. Yud, X amount of letters to Shin, the same.
The computer, you're looking for this.
Exactly, I couldn't do it. It would take me 1,000,000 years to do it without a computer. You know how many variations it has? Oh, you will never finish.
Oh, because I saw you started here. So where are you coming from 50 before that?
No, there's no 50 before that. That's where the computer found it. Accidentally, of course there's no accidentally, it's all planted. Accidentally, for more than 5,000 verses in the Torah, where did the computer find the word Yeshu and Mecca in equal skip? In the verse speaking about the religion of the wood and the religion of the rock. Now, something like this to happen statistically, coincidentally, is 1 to who knows how many millions or billions. Obviously, it cannot be. But that's nothing. That's only one code. I can show you right now thousands of codes like this. Saddam Hussein, George Bush, words that you can't believe. The Torah knew about every event in our history 3,300 years ago. For instance, I'll give you an example. In the film, you can see the Holocaust. The Holocaust. People say, where was God in the Holocaust? 6 million Jews were murdered. So first of all, let me explain to you that really no 6 million Jews were murdered. I believe not even 3 million were murdered. Maybe 1 million. Now, why? Let me tell you why. Because everyone who had a Jewish last name, for instance, if they want to make a Holocaust today in America, first one they put in the gas chambers is Howard Stern. He's a Jew, no? But he's a Goy. His mother is a Goya. You know how many Americans, their last name is Cohen, but they're 100% Goyim? Because the mother is not Jewish. It goes by the mother. The last name means nothing. It can be Rosenberg, it can be Rosengarten, you can be, and you're 100% a Goy. So they took everyone who has some Jewish blood in him. But according to the Torah, this is all Goyim. So half of the people that of the Holocaust, at least, were not Jewish. Why? For a very simple reason. Because the Jews in Europe, prior to the Holocaust, about 30, 40 or 50 years before, they were all married the Goyim. It was major assimilation already 2-3 generations. So a lot of people who had a Jewish last name, or even some Jewish custom, they were 100% Goyim. You know how many Bukharian guys I met here with Star David necklaces, and in the end they're 100% Goyim? They put tefillin, they had bar mitzvah, they're 100% Goyim. According to the Torah, they're 100% Goyim. Why? Because the mother is a Goya. I'll give you an example. In Israel, there's a Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, 6 years in coma. Most Israelis don't know that he's also a Goy. Yeah, do some biography. His mother was a Russian woman named Vera, non-Jew. His father met her and brought her to Israel. And supposedly she had a reform conversion, which means she didn't keep any mitzvot. And he was born and he's a Goy. He fought for Israel, he did a lot for the army. But obviously he has a non-Jewish soul. Same thing Rafael Etan, Raful. He was the Minister of Defense, also a Goy. And Alon Olearchik is a very famous singer in Israel, also a Goy. So here you go, just 3 I gave you on the top of my head, but I can give you hundreds like this that everyone thinks they're Jewish, but they're really Goyim. So when Hitler killed, he didn't care mother, father. Anyone who has a quarter Judaism in him, or even 2 generations ago, he put him in the gas chambers. And also killed Germans who were married to Jews. That they try to defend them, they put them also in the gas chambers. So the number grew to 6 million. Technically, maximum is 3 million, maybe 2 million, maybe even 1 million that really had Jewish soul. So that's first claim. Second claim now is, people ask, okay, even 1 million Jews, it's still a lot of people. Even 1,000, it's a lot, right? So the question is, where was God in the Holocaust? The question still remains. The answer here is the Holocaust is the biggest proof that the Torah is divine. If we wouldn't have an Holocaust, then we would have to wonder if the Torah is really divine or not. Why? Because the Torah gives a full-page prophecy that the Holocaust would happen to the children of God. Where does it say it? God said to Moses, after you die, after you passed away from the world, and you lay with your fathers, one day this nation will rebel against me, and they will mix with the Goyim, and they will live like a Goyim, and they do everything I say not to do. And at that time I will be very angry at them, and I will send the Goyim to destroy them. And I will be so angry at them for saying that I'm not among them. And they give a complete description of a Holocaust. In that page, when we told the computer, please find the word HaShoah, Hey, Shin, Vav, Aleph, Hey, Hey, Shin, Vav, Aleph, Hey, 5 letters. The computer searched the entire Torah. Where do you think the computer found the word the Holocaust? In this chapter, we describe a Holocaust that will happen to the Jews in the future for rebelling against God and leaving the Torah and assimilate with the Goyim. In that page, the word HaShoah appears. I'll give you another example. We have a disease called AIDS, affected like 100 million people until now, all over the world, in the last 25 years. So we put AIDS in a computer, Aleph, Yud, Yud, Dalet, Samech. We asked the computer to search if this word appeared in the Torah. The computer find it. Where? In the chapter of Sodom and Gomorrah, Maaseh Sdom, homosexuality. The entire chapter says that the guest of Lot, the people of Sodom, wanted to rape them. Men, a huge amount of men, came to break the house of Lot, and they want to rape the guest that he had in his house. And Lot offered them, take my daughters, take me. They said, no, we don't want you, we want them. הוציאה עלינו את האנשים האלה ונדעה אותם. ונדעה אותם, according to the Torah speak in a clean language, means to sleep with them. Like Avraham ידע את שרה. Right? And then the Torah says, ותהר שרה. So they want to rape them. In that chapter that speak about men sleeping with a man, the Torah found the word AIDS. How did the Torah know there will be a sickness AIDS? Also it says, mehakofim, in the same chapter, from the monkeys, because the first blood was transfused to a man, came from a monkey, and that's how he came to people. So there's many, many things that we have in our generation that the Torah put in equal mathematical skip. Now you have to remember one thing. If the Torah would put a word, it would be 49, 49, 49, 49, 48. The computer wouldn't find it. Even though it's beautiful, 49, 49, 49, 49, 48. Still nice. It's not a scientific proof.
49 or 50?
It could be 50, it could be 49, it could be 20. It doesn't matter the number. It could be 7. It can be 7. I'll give you an example. In the verse that we say in the Kiddush, ושמרו בני ישראל, right? יום השישי, יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם. It's speaking about the creation of the world, that in 7 days God rested. In this verse, you have the word Israel, the nation of Israel, in equal skip of 7. What's the subject of this verse? The covenant between the nation of Israel and God, which is the Sabbath, Shabbat. Right? ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. Shabbat is the eternal covenant between me and our nation to God. No other nation received the Torah. It's the biggest the Shabbat. It's the biggest gift that God gave us. That's the covenant between us and Him, that we are eternal nation. And once we keep the Shabbat, we'll go to heaven for eternity, etc., etc. Now, in this verse, the word Israel appear in equal skip of 7. Why? The Torah speak about 7. Inside, Israel in equal skip of 7. If you go into my Torah and Science film or Torah Umada in Hebrew, everything I mentioned you will have with presentation, you know the sources, you can see, it will be more clear. So let's move on. I'm going to skip, as you can see, a lot of the things, and I'm going to go, because I don't want to keep you here all night. I want another 15 minutes to be able to give you time for questions. Now, this is the book of Dvarim, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 32 to 35. ספר דברים, בן שבת, חם פה מאוד, אנשים מתעלפים. למה כל כך חם פה? תפתח את הדלת. אוקיי, נו, שאירו אותה פתוחה לגמרי, לגמרי. תפתח. אוקיי, now. When it's too hot, people cannot focus. It's cook the brain. You should know that. Better will be cold than hot. All right, now, the Torah says, "Kish'alna leyamim rishonim." Kish'alna leyamim rishonim. Now the Torah said to the Jew, remember the Torah applied to every generation. Every generation. The Torah said to me, to you, to our fathers, to our children, the Torah says like this, Go and check in a history. Go and check in a history. כי שאלנה לימים ראשונים, אשר היו לפניך, the days that passed before, למן היום אשר ברא אלוקים אדם על הארץ, from the day Hashem created Adam on the earth, from one side of the world to the other side of the world, did ever an event like that took place? What event? Did a nation heard the voice of God speaking from the fire as you heard and survive? Where do you find another nation or group of people who said that God gave them the book or spoke to them? You will never find such an event, right? Or did God ever try to take a group of people from a larger group with miracles and war and a strong hand and to do all this magic in front of them? Did you find any event like that? You saw that God is the master and there is no other besides him. Why do I read you these 3 verses in the Torah? Because it's very, very interesting. When the Torah was given, 80,000 religions and cults that we have today obviously did not exist. We had maybe few cults in the world in the time of Avraham Avinu, as the Torah described them, many idols worshippers, but there was no main religion in the world, no religion. And all of a sudden God comes to the Jews and he gives them Torah and the whole world is amazed. Wow, the Jews received the Torah. The interesting thing is that God said to the Jews in the Torah, this is a proof that a person can never write the Torah. Besides the quotes that I show, which is a very strong proof, this is a proof that God can never write the Torah. Why? That a person can never write the Torah. Why? Because a person will never take such a risk. No person will take such a risk because a person cannot control the future. The writer of the book promised to the Jews, you will never have a group of goyim, of non-Jews, who would claim that I gave them a book, or that I spoke to them, or I made any magics to them. Never. You will never have a group of people. One individual, plenty, 80,000 times. 2 and up, never. I will never let it happen. Why? Because if 5 goyim would come and say God spoke to Muhammad and gave him the Quran, we will have a serious problem. It's 5 witnesses already. But if one person come and say God spoke to me in a dream, like Mary, who cares? You can say whatever you want in your dream. That's not a proof. If Muhammad come by himself from the desert and say Angel Gabriel gave me the Quran, who cares? One person will say a story about himself, that's not a testimony. But if we bring 10 people with him, we will have a serious problem. Now remember, even if the goyim lied, it's a conspiracy. Muhammad would take 10 cousins of him, give each one of them $1,000, and would say to them, all you have to do is to learn this page by heart. Learn. Here is what you have to learn. Tomorrow all of you would come, you would say that the angel Gabriel gave me the Quran, and I'll pay each one of you $1,000 and you go home. That will be a very serious problem because there will be the first mistake in the Torah. Because the Torah say, the goyim will never claim God gave all of us a book or God spoke to all of us. Only one person. Now 80,000 times from the time the Torah was given, one goy came and say, here is the new religion, or here is a new cult. Not one time, one of them brought witnesses. 80,000 times, only one person? How can it be? Why? Because the Torah promised. Never, ever a group of goyim would come and say, I spoke to them. If 10 Arabs would come, if 10 or 5 Christians would come and say, God came to us and we had a revelation, that will be the end of Judaism. Even if we know they're lying. Even if we know they're lying. Because the Torah say, did you ever see such a group of people claim that I spoke to them? It didn't say, did you ever see me speaking to them? It said, did you ever see that they claim that I spoke to them? Even as a lie, it would never happen. Only one. So Mary came, Joseph the carpenter comes back after 6 months, he sees his wife is 6 months pregnant. What happened? I never touched you. Now she has 2 options. 2 options. If she said, I cheated, they execute her. Today, when a woman cheats on her husband, they bring her on television and give her a talk show and buy her a car also as a bonus. Yeah, it's very nice. It's in style. And then she go to court, the judge give her the children. Why? She has a boyfriend on the side. Very nice. In America, in Israel, same story. But in the time of them, even the goyim, when a woman cheated on her husband, right away execution, no mercy. So if she would say, yeah, I went with another man, what would happen to her? Execution. Remember, it's 2 Jews, and they'll execute them. So she had to make up a story. What's the only way to save their life? God came to me in a dream and made me pregnant, right? So she came to him. She said, I'm still a virgin. So what happened? In the end of the story, he didn't want her to die. He stayed with her, and JC was born. Still Judaism was still in effect. There was no Christianity yet. JC died, and there was still no Christianity. Only between 70 to 300 years after he died, they started with their nonsense. But up to then, nobody knew. Christianity, JC, nobody cared. So what's the end of it? Anybody can testify that God came to her in a dream? No. When Muhammad came, when Buddha came, who saw that he saw the light? Nobody. You understand what I'm saying here? Every Hare Krishna, how many witnesses? Nobody. Show one witness, never. So that's an example how a book takes a huge risk, and after 3,300 years is 100% right. I'm skipping a lot. You can see it in the film. Now, in Judaism, God did not ask the Jews to believe in him. This is a very common mistake. God said to the Jews, you have to know me. Where does it say in the Torah that we have to know God? It says, V'ida'atem ki ani Hashem. You have all the sources right there on the right. Exodus, Deuteronomy, etc. It says, V'ida'atem ki ani Hashem, V'ida'atem ki ani Hashem, V'ida'atem ki ani Hashem. 3 different places. And then it says, Ki oti beni lebenechem, ledorotechem ladat ki ani Hashem. It's language of ladat. Do you know what's the difference between knowing and believing? Believing means not knowing. When a scientist say, I believe that the medicine will make this person stand up on his feet. Right now he's paralyzed. I believe the medicine will help. It can be 20% chance, 40% chance. That's what he believes. But if he say, I know, it would make him rise, then we know that he tested it 1,000 times. He knows what he's talking about. He's not going to make himself a fool in front of the whole world. When he used the word I know, then we know it's a proof. He's about to prove something. When we say I believe, you believe, I believe the other way around. The Torah didn't say to believe in God. The Torah says you should know I'm your God. You should know I'm the only God. Where does it say it? Here. It's a sign between me and you for generations to know that I am God. And another place it says, your eyes saw that God is the master. In another place he's saying, you should know today, you should know, not believe. You should know today and return it into your heart that God is the only one, etc. In the prophets, also, it says, in the prophets, in the book of Joshua, it says that all the nations should know the hand of God, not believe, should know. Then in Jeremiah it says, and I gave them a heart to know me, that I am God. In another place, you should know I'm God. In another place in Isaiah 43, it says, now here is the only place that the Torah speaks, the Tanakh speaks about emunah, to believe. It's right here. Even when God wanted to tell us that there is also mitzvah of emunah, v'ida'atem, you should know God, but you also believe in what he said that is true. As one thing to know God is the master, is watching us, everything he says is the truth. But on the other hand, there's mitzvah of emunah. For instance, he told the Jews, don't save the man that I'm giving you from heaven for tomorrow. But some Jews did not believe. They saved. The next morning it became all worms. So they didn't have emunah they know God exists, they heard his voice. But when he said, don't leave man for tomorrow, eat today, tomorrow I'll give you a new man, they didn't believe him. That's the mitzvah of emunah. Emunah doesn't exist when you don't know 1,000,000% that God is watching and is running the show. First, you have to know there's a God, there's only one God, and he's our God. And from now on, it's up to you if you want to believe him or not, or you think he's an Israeli member of the Knesset. It's up to you. If you think he's Chaver Knesset, it's your choice. If you know he's saying something is 100% right, that's also your choice. So this is what it says here. Leman ted'u, that you should know, that's the first thing, you should know. V'ta'aminu li, and believe me. V'tavinu, and understand. 3 levels. First, knowledge. Second, belief. Third, understanding. That's the right order. If there is no knowledge that God is here, you will never get into emunah. And then if you have emunah, then only after you will understand. Maybe yes, maybe not. You can be a religious person all your life, and you still don't understand 1% of the Torah. It's no problem. It doesn't contradict the purpose of life. God didn't tell you to be another God. Rambam wrote, the Rambam, Maimonides, he wrote, Ilu yeda'ativ aitiv. If I knew everything about God, I would be God. It takes God to know God. It's like sometimes people ask me, who is a greater rabbi? Rabbi Ovadia Yosef or Rabbi Ben Zion Abba Shaul? So what's the answer? In order for me to know which one is a bigger rabbi, I have to know at least in their level. Since I'm not even 1% from their level, you better ask somebody else. Very simple. So to know everything about God, obviously we'll never know. But now we have one thing to understand. If God say, you should know me, everything I know in my life, I know with the 5 senses that my Creator made me with. He made me with eyes, so I can see. So that's one sense. Whatever I see, I know it exists. He made me with ears, I can hear. Whatever I hear, I know it exists. He made me with smelling sense. So whatever I smell, I know exists. Somebody will open garlic behind me, I don't need to turn around. I know it's garlic right here. Smell it. So that's also a way to know things. And then to taste. That's another sense. And then to touch. A blind person can touch things and he exists. So there's 5 senses that I can prove God exists. Now I want to ask you a question. With the 5 senses that God made us with, can we prove He exists? Can we see Him? No. Can we taste Him? No. Can we smell Him? No. Can we hear Him? No. Can we touch Him? No. So case is closed. So we don't have to be religious. Very good. Here, I just found you a way out. Why? God say you should know me. You should know I'm the only God. You should know there's no other God besides me. You should know I'm watching you. Ayin ro'a v'ozen shomat v'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavim. There's a lot of verses in the Torah that's subject to knowledge. But since I cannot prove God, with all due respect, with the 5 senses you made me with, I cannot prove you exist, I have no way to know you exist. Since I have no way to know you exist, you have a problem. You made me defected. Since I'm defected, I can never prove you exist. Leave me alone. I want to do whatever I want. End of story. You cannot punish me. I have a very strong case. True or not?
True.
Not only it's not true, it's also very foolish claim. Why? Anyone here got on a plane on the way to Israel? How do you think the pilot gets on a plane here in New York and he lands in Israel? How does the pilot find the way in the ocean when it's all dark and blue? How does he find a way to land exactly in Tel Aviv? Radars, waves, radio waves. How does the Israeli captain of the building, the tower of the airport, he tells the pilot, wait 2 more minutes until you can land, because, obviously they communicate with radio waves. Can you prove with the 5 senses that the radio waves exist? You cannot prove. There's no way to prove they exist. But all of us live according to that every second of our life. We listen to radio, people watch television. You watch a television now, someone from LA, you see him live on the screen here in New York. Obviously, we don't think that he's inside the box. We know something brought him from LA to New York in less than a second. What is this something? We call it radio waves. Today, they made an electronic device that can prove how radio waves exist. We could not see it with our 5 senses. The device is telling us how the radio waves look, short waves, long waves, etc. But before that, we also knew. 50 years ago, people knew about radio waves. People live according to that. Radars, communication. Also, many other things exist in this space that we cannot prove with the 5 senses, but all of us swear that they exist. In Russia, a Russian communist teacher said to the children, whatever you can prove with the 5 senses exists. What you cannot prove with the 5 senses does not exist. So a Jewish boy got up and he said to the teacher, in that case, you don't have a intelligence. You're a moron. So she said, why are you saying it, little chutzpan? So he said, can I touch your brain? Can I touch your intelligence? Can I see it? Can I smell it? Can I taste it? Where is it? When Albert Einstein died, everyone was interested to know where is knowledge. So looked at his brain, regular brain. Piece of molecular, some blood, some veins, some gel, some liquid. Same thing like the dog. Take the dog, take his brain, take a human being, take his brain, take a chimpanzee, take his brain. All look the same. Where is all this knowledge? Not only that. Think, there are people who die for a few minutes and come back to life. It's called clinical death. According to science, if a person is dead for more than 6 minutes, even if he comes back to life, he's supposed to be brain damaged for the rest of his life. But many people died and came back to life today, in this generation especially, more than 6 minutes, and they remember everything. So now, in the 6 minutes that this person is dead, or the 40 minutes, one guy in Israel, 43 minutes he was dead, a person from Pardes Kat, stabbed in his heart, 43 minutes, they already put him in a refrigerator. And then he came back to life. So the 43 minutes that he was dead, his body temperature went from 38 degrees Celsius to 36, 35. It's dropping. Now, you touch his skin, it's very cold. You take a cigarette, you burn him, he doesn't make a beep. You tell him, Avi, tell me 2 times 3, how much is this? He doesn't know. He cannot function. 40 minutes later, he came back to life. He knows now how to answer. While he was dead, where was all the knowledge? Didn't exist. Why? All the knowledge is in the soul. And the soul cannot be proven with the 5 senses because it's a spiritual divine energy. It's a spark from God, as the Torah say. וَيِצَر השם אלוקים את האדם עפר מן האדמה ויפח באפיו נשמת חיים ויהי האדם לנפש חיה. First he created the body. Then he blew into the nostrils of Adam, which was a doll from sand, a living soul. So the soul is living, not the body. The body is only a box. ויהי האדם לנפש חיה. And when a person died, and a person became alive. And once a person died, the book of Kohelet, והנשמה תשוב לבעליה כי הוא נתנה, and the soul will return to God that gave it, והבody יושב לעפר כי ממנו לוקח, and the body that came from the sand will return to the sand. So this is how a person was created, and this is how he dies. But the soul was always here, and the soul will always remain. There's no way to kill a soul. You can only kill physical things. You cannot kill spiritual things because it's a spark of God himself. So now, obviously, with the 5 senses, we don't need to prove God. How do we know he exists? We see the creation, we know he's here. The creation could not be created by nothing, by a random explosion. Even these fools, and I have no hesitations when I call them fools because they deserve a much worse word to describe them. So I'm being a little bit polite and I call them fools. This professor who speak in Columbia and Yale and in Harvard and the Hebrew University, they don't believe what they say. I promise you. Connect them to a lie detector, you see the machine will break. Because when I take this professor and I say to him, you know, I was walking in the street here in Brooklyn and I was going next to a garbage can, and there was an explosion. Oh, boom! And I got very nervous, and pieces started to fly, thousands of pieces, and all the chain connected together, and the glass came right away with the glue, closed it hermetically, and the button went in, and now it's starting to move, and it's right here on my hand, and it closed by itself, and here is a watch. This professor would say, call 911. Maybe this is the next guy who will shoot all of us. It's crazy. But 5 minutes ago, this fool was standing in front of the whole world and say, 300 billion years ago, when there was the Big Bang and there was an explosion and physics started to expand and everything fell into place, and since then we have an evolution and all the billions of amazing things got connected all together and one complete the other, everything coincidence. Come on, it's nonsense. It's such a stupid claim that I'm wondering how they even allow this nonsense. Should be a law against these fools. But they sell millions of books, and they get billions of dollars from the government, and they sell us their nonsense for who knows how many years, and they sell us their theories and all kinds of baloney that they invent every week to get attention, and all of us follow them like the sheep who goes into the slaughtering house. Nobody uses his head. Not one person get up in this university and say, excuse me, first prove to me that a bug, a mosquito, was able to be created by itself. Now, you know, I want to tell you something. when you're trying to create something with a random explosion. I'll give you an example. If I want to create something, if I take 50 coins and I throw them on the floor, I want them to create a triangle, a shape of a triangle. So I take 50 coins, I throw them on the floor. How many billions of times I'm going to have to throw the 50 coins until it will create an exact triangle? How many times? Infinite. 100 billion times, I'll never do it. Let's say, accidentally it happened once. That's one system who was created randomly. Now I have to create a circle that would fit inside the triangle. How many times I'm going to have to do it? Another 100 billion times. Let's say it happened. Now I have to create a line inside the circle. How many times? Billions of times. If the world was created by multiple explosions, random explosion, where is the leftover all the attempts that did not succeed? There's nowhere in the world. You cannot find anywhere in nature all the false explosions that did not create anything. Where are they? There should be billions of strange things in the world. Because another explosion, and another one, where are they? They're never here. Well, who would believe such stupid thing? On top of it, let me tell you something that you never thought about. You know, space is endless. You can travel in space for millions of years light. You don't reach the end. Space is endless. The world has 72% water. 72%. Which is almost 3/4 of the world is water. It's a lot. Now, if I take a quarter out of my pocket, and we are in a yacht in the middle of the ocean, and I throw the quarter to the bottom of the ocean, and now I say to a person, I'll give you $1 trillion, I'm very generous today, $1 trillion, if you were able to throw a coin anywhere in the ocean, you don't know where I threw my coin, that your coin will fall exactly and hit mine in the bottom of the ocean. And I will give you 1 billion chances to do it. Throw 1 billion times the coin somewhere in the ocean. The ocean is 72% of the world, is hundreds of thousands of miles. Somewhere in the water, that your quarter will fall exactly on mine. What are the odds? Zero. It will never happen. You know anyone who put his money on it?
No.
Warn me from that person. So now, what's bigger? 72% of this tiny earth that we live in, or endless space? Endless space is much, much bigger. Our earth is in the Milky Way galaxy. Milky Way, Shvil HaChalav. Milky Way has 9 stars, 10 stars. They're arguing, maybe we found the 10th one. Doesn't matter. 10, 9, it's not relevant right now. The way they designed the Milky Way is, it's like a shape of a banana. Almost half a circle. It's beautiful. 1, 2, 3, okay. But there's only one star who is not where he was supposed to be. He was taken from where he was supposed to be in the shape of a banana, and he was pushed to the right. Which star? It's the only place where people live. The Earth. The tiny star, which is Earth, the smallest star, it was shifted to the right, and it was put exactly in the only place in the endless space that he could have been there. Every other place in space, if Earth would be there, we either burn in a minute or we freeze in a second. The distance between the star and Earth, in the middle of the sun, it's the temperature 15 million degrees Celsius in the middle of the sun. Sun is more than 1,000 times bigger than Earth. So at the center of the sun, 15 million degrees Celsius. From the center of the sun until the shell, the sun is surrounded with shell. Going to show you that the Torah knew it before NASA. So it's like an orange. Imagine the sun like an orange, and an orange has a peel. So from the center of the orange, it's 15 million degrees. Until you reach the inside of the shell, the white, what's inside, over there the temperature dropped to 2 million degrees. 2 million. 7.5 times reduction. Now when you go out of the orange to the orange side of the orange, right, to the orange side, the temperature dropped from the outside of the shell to 6,000 degrees Celsius. From 2 million to 6,000. I think it's 35 times more. But it's a much smaller distance. From the center to the shell, it's much longer. Reduction of 7.5 times. From the inside to the outside, a much bigger reduction. Why? Because the shell absorbs all the radiation. So now 6,000 degrees in the outside of the shell. From there until it reaches Earth, it's a very long distance. It's going down. Once it gets here, 30 degrees Celsius. That's the average, 30, 25, 32. That's what's happening in the world now. If you take the Earth and move it in space 1% further from the sun, it's here, you move it 1%. No, not 50%. 1% further is who knows how many hundreds of millions of kilometers or whatever. 1%. You move the Earth from the sun, will freeze in a minute. Will freeze right away, or the temperature will be 300 below zero. If you move us 1% towards the sun, 1%, everyone will go on fire in less than a second and the world could not survive. Now think, let's use our head. For those who claim there's no creator, everything was a random explosion, the chance that the Earth will be where it is by coincidence, not only it's below zero, it's billions of percent below zero. There's no chance whatsoever that Earth would be where it is by coincidence. No chance. Only a planner knew where to put Earth in such endless space, in exact place, the only place that life could remain on this Earth. So who is this fool who has the nerve to come and make such stupid claims? Excuse my language, I'm a little bit arrogant now on purpose. I want to wake up people to think. Who would be this fool? If I just said before, if I take a coin and throw it 1 billion times in a tiny lake, the world is not even a lake compared to space. It's nothing. It will never happen. What's the chance that it will happen in endless space? There's no chance. So obviously there is a creator. And now we're going to see in the next 5-10 minutes before we finish that the Torah is 1,000,000% divine.
I missed something before. So, but that, what is you're implying that there's no other life besides the Earth on space?
No, so I didn't say that. I said the only place so far that we are aware of that people with free choice live is this Earth. If one day they'll find life in another place, possible, I don't know, maybe will be people not like us, that are not made from things. Maybe they can survive in 300 degrees or 300 below zero. It's possible.
What the Torah says about it?
No, the Torah didn't speak about life in other stars, but the students of the Ramban 750 years ago, they say there is no people like us in any other star. So there's an argument.
I think that it is.
No, there's an argument what they meant. Did they mean that there is no life at all in any one of the stars? Or there's no life like people like us? So obviously it's open for debate, but it's not relevant. Whether they find one day creatures in another star or whether they won't, it doesn't apply to us. We have to follow the rules of the Torah. We have a creator. He put us here. He put us in a test. He gave us a book of instruction. He gave us afterlife with reward and punishment. If we'll be righteous and listen to him, we'll win. If we ignore him, we'll lose big time. That's the concept of life. Of course, it's much deeper, but I'm trying to say it in a minute. If you are interested to know a little bit deeper the purpose of life, listen to my series, Mesilat Yesharim. It's based on the legendary Kabbalist Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, the Ramchal. He wrote this legendary book that was translated to who knows how many languages, and millions of people that wanted to know the purpose of life. The only way to understand is through books like that teach you, based on also the Torah and the Kabbalah, what's the purpose of the creation and our purpose. Now remember, there's different ways to prove the Torah is divine. One is the structure of transmission, how the Torah was transferred without making mistakes. Second way, hidden structure, as I said before, codes in the Torah. Third, prophecy. The only book in history that have prophecies in it is the Torah. In the New Testament, there's not even one prophecy. In the Quran, there's not even one prophecy. The Muslims say Prophet Muhammad. Show me one prophecy in the Quran, you'll get a prize. There's no prophecies. Don't show me something that is copied from Prophet Isaiah or Jeremiah. Of course, that's already prior to him. Show me new prophecy in the Quran, there's not even one. Show me one prophecy in the New Testament, there's not even one. Why? They knew they're not prophets. They did not write the future because they do not know the future. Same thing, I don't know the future. Muhammad did not know the future. And the ones who wrote the New Testament also didn't know the future. So there's another way to know the wisdom of the Torah. The wisdom of the Torah, it's way above human wisdom. There is knowledge in the Torah that indicates that the writer of the Torah is the same one who created the world. Because other people could never able to write such information as I'm going to show you in the next few minutes. And there is also archaeology discoveries and psychological things in the Torah that we see that the Torah is a very objective book with no hiding things under the rug. Obviously, I don't have time to talk about anyone, so I'm going to talk only about one thing, which is wisdom. The divine wisdom of the Torah. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Here you go. First proof, when it comes to wisdom, the Torah said to the Jews, everything you want to eat from the ocean, you're allowed in one condition, that it has fins and scales. Obviously, God says, if I'm going to start writing the names of all the creature who lives in the water, it will be billions of names. Nobody would read it. Who would read 1 billion names? There's more than 40,000 different kind of fish. I'm going to start writing 40,000 names. Obviously, it's not relevant. So what am I going to do? I make a formula, like math. You want to know if it's kosher or not? Doesn't matter the name. What do you care, the name of the fish? You have so many different ones. You took it out, you look at that. You scratch it, the scales are falling off. That's one witness. Second one, fins. You need the fish to have fins. Scales and fins, kosher. Doesn't have fins and scales, like a snake. Doesn't have scales and doesn't have fins. Not kosher. Shrimps, not kosher. Swordfish, not kosher. Shark, dolphin, doesn't have scales, not kosher. Scorpions, all these things is not kosher. So now here is the story now. When the Torah was given, it was given the written and the oral Torah combined. Why? The 613 laws in the Torah. The body of a human being is created with 248 organs, 365 ligaments. If you review the Torah have 248 positive commandments, 365 restrictions. For every organ in the body of a person, there is a positive commandment. 248. For every ligament in the body, one restriction in the Torah. 365 ligaments, 365 restrictions. This is the way the person is created, with the same number of the mitzvot of the Torah to do or not to do. Now, there is not even one instruction or description how to keep one of these 613 laws in the written book. All the written Torah spoke about is the name of the mitzvah. For instance, V'shamru bnei Israel et Shabbat. You have to keep Shabbat. How all the laws that apply to Shabbat, no description in the Torah. The Torah say, V'aya le'ot al yadecha u'letotafot ben einecha. It should be a sign on your hand and in between your eyes. Where, what, how do you make it, what do you write inside? There's more than 1,000 instructions how to create one pair of tefillin. If one of them you did incorrectly, it's not kosher. Where is these 1,000 instructions in the written Torah? Not even one is mentioned. Not only that, the word tefillin is not mentioned in the Torah. Which hand it doesn't say. Where on the hand? How do you do it? How do you put it? When do you put it? Who has to put it? Man or woman, children, etc. None of it appears. There's no way. It is possible that God gave a book and said this is an eternal covenant, oath, between me and you, and he never told us how to make it. Doesn't make sense. Then it says you should make circumcision to your babies. Every baby that is born in the 8 days, umaltem et besar orlatchem. Where is the orla? Nobody knows. Moshe come from the mountain, he bring the Torah scroll, they open it. God said that we have to make an agreement with him, a covenant in our body. We have to cut something that called orla, but we don't know what orla means. So one guy, Moshe, say, okay, I think orla would be this. We don't need it, we can cut it. One person say, no, it's maybe the nails, maybe this is orla. One person say, no, maybe it's the skin in the hand, the hair in the hand. One person say, maybe it's the toenails. One person say, maybe here, maybe we can cut here. One person say, no, he didn't really mean the body, it's metaphoric. Everyone makes a different covenant. Right away, 5,000 different circumcision. Obviously you see today, Jews came to Israel from all over the world. There was no internet, no communication, no FedEx, no television, no radio, no telephone, no nothing. The Yemenite came from Yemen. The Russian Jews and the Polish Jews and the Syrian Jews and the Persian Jews, they all gathered in Israel. Circumcision, same 8 days, same tool, same place, same everything. How they know? Obviously, you see that the oral Torah is the main Judaism. 99.9% of what we do come from the oral Torah. Without it, we couldn't be Jews. We would only know the names of the mitzvot and the history of the Jewish people. And God did not want the Goyim to have all the information written, because every Goy can pretend he's a Jew. Therefore, he gave the main knowledge to pass from rabbi to student, from father to son. So now the oral Torah, on this verse, we have to see what the oral Torah explains. Everything that have fins and scales, it's kosher. So the oral Torah says like this, listen good. Kol sheyesh lo kaskeset, yesh lo snapir. Everything in the oceans that have scales, guaranteed to have fins. You will never find anything in the oceans or in the rivers that if you saw that you scratch the body and the scales are falling off, the same body must have fins. If you find one fish or one snake that have scales that you can scratch off, or any scorpion, or anything you have, a turtle, a horse, whatever you have in the oceans, anything that exists in the ocean, if it had scales and did not have fins, that would be, God forbid, the first mistake in the Torah, which dismiss all the rest. No more Yom Kippur, no more Shema Israel, no more Shabbat, no more Tefillin, no more marriage, no more nothing. No, nothing. Everything is over. Why? It would be the first mistake, not in the written Torah, in the oral Torah, which is equally divine. So the Torah says like this, listen good. The Torah says like this. No one will ever find a creature with scales without fins. Now remember, when the Torah was written, more than half of the species who live in the oceans today did not exist. They constantly mixed, naturally and artificially by scientists, and they always create new things. Even those new things will never have scales without fins. Never. All you have to show is one. Here is a fish with scales without fins. That will be the end of Judaism. So now, until today, and now remember, 72% of the world is water. There's more than 40,000 different kinds of fish and millions of other species. The Torah say no one would ever find. Now, in order for a person to write such a thing in a book, it has to be not a person, it has to be a super person. He has to watch the entire world simultaneously and see all the billions of things who moves in all over the world, in the waters and in the rivers, in everywhere, right? Even in your back pool. Everything who moves in the whole world, and say, I don't see even one like this in the world. Not only that, you have to predict the 3,300 years who are yet to come in the future, because they're all going to get mixed and create new things. And he will write, no one will ever find such a thing. I made the world. I know what's going to be, what's not going to be. Which means if you find one, will be the end of everything. Now, do you think that a person was able to write such a thing, or it's a clear indication that the creator of the world is the only one who can write such a thing? What do you think? Anyone think a person can promise such a thing?
No.
Baruch Hashem. One last proof for tonight, and the rest. One last proof for tonight, and then the rest you will watch in my Torah and Science film, or in the Torah Umada, which is the same thing, one in Hebrew, one in English. I'm skipping a lot, as you can see. I just want to show you one last proof for tonight, and that's it. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot, page 32, again oral Torah, speaking about the number of stars in the universe. Everybody knows that until the time of Galileo Galilei, there were no telescopes like the ones we have today. 400 years ago, in 1608, 404 years ago, Galileo Galilei shocked the world by raising his first telescope, which was 6 feet wide, right, 2 meters, And he said, now we can see there's much more than 8,000 stars. Up to that moment, 400 years ago, the whole world, with no exception, believed there's maximum 8,000 stars, because there was no way to see. You don't have telescope, you don't have NASA, you don't have spaceship, you don't have satellites, you don't have all this. So people were standing on mountain manually and counting how many stars are in a world. And the maximum amount was 8,000 stars. One day a scientist named Galileo Galilei raised this telescope and they saw much more than 8,000. So the world realized that there's much more than what we can see. Today, with the help of NASA, we see that there are trillions and trillions of stars and billions of galaxies, etc. Let's see what the Torah had to tell us 3,300 years ago, when there was no telescope, no satellite, no NASA, no calculator, none of these things. And it was written in the Talmud 2,000 years ago, but the knowledge was received 3,300 years ago in Mount Sinai. The Torah says that the nation of Israel came to God and say, after the destruction of the second temple, dear God, a person get remarried, he never forget his ex-wife, never. How did you forget about us and neglected us? Which means the Goyim came and destroyed the second temple and they sent us out of the Holy Land. That was the question. And this is what the Gemara say, remember, this was written 2,000 years ago, but it was given to the Jews 3,300 years ago. And this is what it says. And Amar la Kadosh Baruch Hu, God answered to the Jewish nation, my daughter, 12 sections I created in heaven. And in each section I created 30 army. And in each army I created 30 legion. In each legion I created 30 raton. In each raton I created 30 karaton. In each karaton I created 30 gistera. In each gistera I hung 365,000 multiplied by 10,000 stars. Riboitz revava. 10,000. And all of that I created for you. Who is for you? For the nation of Israel. And you have the nerve to tell me that I forgot about you and neglected you? That's what the Gemara said that God answered. In a generation, there was no telescope, no calculator, no NASA, no satellite, and people thought there's maximum 8,000 stars. All of a sudden, something so strange, a book of the Jews, claimed that there's billions of stars. Let's do the math together. This is, as you can see, I translated it to English, and you can see it's 30 army, and 30 legion, and 30 rahaton, and 30 karaton, and 30 gistera, etc. So this is what it is. Look. The calculation, 12 times 30, times 30, times 30, times 30, times 30, times 365,000, times 10,000, 4 more zeros, give us 1.0643 multiplied by 10 to the power of 19 stars, which means 1 in 18 digits. A number of 19 digits, I don't even know how to say it in English, forgive me. You know, but it's a very, very long number, very long number. Let's say if you have a pennies like this number, you can buy the entire United States with how many pennies you have in this number, right? It's a very big number. So the answer is, Mamash, we're almost done, and I give you some time for questions. The number of the Torah given an astronomical number when no human being was able to even imagine. Imagine somebody 2,000 years ago somebody come with this kind of number, right? So this is what it says. Listen. In the year 1990, Dr. T. Brewers from Queen Mary College in London had a research with mega computer and found that there are 10 to the power of 19 stars in universe. The interesting part is not only that he found the same number that the Gemara was talking about, that they found it in the same structure. It's impossible there will be coincidence. Look, the scientific world describing the galaxies exactly like the Talmud. This is what we call mazalot, 12 sections, 12 mazalot. That's why the horoscope have 12 signs. A circle is 360 degrees, divided to 12 slices. Each slice is 30 degrees, right? So that's why we have 12 signs. It comes from Judaism, obviously. But not only that, What we call 12 mazalot, the scientists call constellations. There are 12 constellations, they claim. And in each mazal, there are 30 chayil. How do the scientists call it? Host. What we call in Hebrew, kvutzat galaxiot lokaliot. In English, host. Then 30 legion. In each one of the army, there are 30 mini sections. We call them legions. We call them in Hebrew galaxy, and in English legion. And then we call it, then 30 raton, we call it ezorim galactim in Hebrew, modern Hebrew, and the Americans call it divisions. Then we have 30 karaton. In Hebrew we call it svirei galaxiot, the scientists of Israel. The scientists of America call it battalions. Then we have gistera, 30 gisteras coming in. In modern Hebrew we call it svirei kochavim globularim. In English, camps. And then we have stars, and in Hebrew it's kochavim, kochav, kochav, like that, and in English, stars. So it's very interesting. 7 sections, one inside the other, inside the other, inside the other, exactly like the Talmud say, according to science. Is it possible that a person wrote this 2,000 years ago when we thought there's maximum 8,000 stars? Impossible. This is what I call divine information. That's why I call my website divineinformation.com. That's why the first film in Jewish history was the movie that I made 14 years ago. We also call it Informatia Elokit. Up to that moment, Baruch Hashem, there was only audio tapes. There's no CDs yet, 14 years ago. No CD, no DVD, none of this. So it was video cassettes. So we decided to make a film to show these proofs, visually. Up to now was all to listen, audio. We made a film. It was very, very big success in Israel. We made more than 500,000 copies in a small, tiny place like Israel. So basically, it reached 10% of the population. They showed it on television, on cables. It was translated to English, to Russian, and Spanish, and other languages. And that opened the door for all the films that we see today, thousands of different films that prove that the Torah is divine, because everyone saw that in video is much more convincing than audio. If people can see and see exactly all the pages and the sources in front of their eyes, it's much more convincing. But it's amazing. It's amazing that you can see that the Torah was able to know 1,000,000,000% everything the scientists find today. Now remember, it doesn't really matter what the scientists say today. Don't get me wrong, because there's really no way to count 100% the number of the stars. They have satellites, they take pictures of all the galaxy, and the mega computer count. They'll never come to the exact number. But we don't really care about what they say. We just care, how did the Torah dare to claim such a number when you can see only 8,000? And to know today that it was exactly right. 7 different sections. Exactly as the structure as it is in space today. And the last thing, as I say to you, is that in Judaism we go by the moon and the sun. But the Goyim, the Christians, they go by the sun only. The Muslims go by the moon only. There's a problem. The year of the sun is 365 days. The year of the moon is 354 days. There's 11 days gap. Every 3 years you lose a month in a calendar. Right? Because the year of the Muslim is shorter than the year of the Christians. So 11 times 3 is 33 days. So every 3 years you lose a month. That's why the Ramadan, the fast of the Ramadan, sometimes is in the summer, sometimes is in the winter. Why? Because the year is very short. The Americans, the Christians, they also have a problem with the calendar. That's why, to balance it, they made every 4 years February 29th. You don't want to be born in that days, you lose many birthdays and gifts. So every 4 years is February 29th. Now in Judaism we have a very serious problem. If it wasn't divine, we couldn't celebrate any Jewish holidays. Why? Because the Torah say, Pesach, Chag HaAviv, Passover, the holiday of the spring. Now since there is 11 days gap between the sun and the moon, we should have had Pesach also moving every 3 years by a month. So after 9 years, it would move from the summer to the spring. And then another 9 years, it would move to the winter. And now everyone in Israel is shaking. Everyone is 0 degrees, right? And the Torah says, Pesach Chag HaAviv, the holiday of the spring. It will be the first mistake in the Torah The Torah call it Chag Aviv, and everyone is celebrating and eating matzot in January when they freeze, right? So it will be the first mistake in the Torah. So now, how did the Torah explain to do it? Listen good, this is divine information. This is all in the oral Torah, as a midrash. Listen good. באותה שעה, at that time, if you want to read the English ones underneath, fine. באותה שעה מסר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה רבנו חוקות חשבון הירח, והודיעו איך יהיה מעבר שנים וקובע חודשים. Hashem informed Moses how to do the calculations, how to make a leap year, how to make the length of the month. What? לפי שנאמר, because the Torah says, שמור את חודש האביב ועשית פסח. The Pesach must be in the spring. God wanted it to be in the same time of the Exodus of Egypt. How do you do it? This is what he taught Moshe. Every 19 years, you have to add to the calendar 7 more months. 7 more months. That's why every 2 or 3 years in Judaism, you have Adar Aleph, Adar Bet. It's called a leap year. Every 2 or 3 years, you have a year with 13 months. Why? If Pesach falls short, it goes, instead of April, when it should be spring in Israel, it falls in the beginning of March. It's still cold. So they add 1 more month to the calendar, Adar Bet, postpone Pesach to April, and it's spring again. Now you wait 2 or 3 years, it's falling short again, you push another month, you postpone it. Like this, it moves a little bit up and down, but it always stays in the spring. That's why every 19 years, the Jewish and the Christian calendar fall on the same date. Every 19 years we meet. It falls on the same date. So now, listen good. This is now, the Gemara say, remember there was no Jewish calendar yet. And when there was no calendar, witnesses have to come to the Jewish court and testify that they saw the renewal of the moon. What does it mean, the renewal of the moon? The day that the moon renewed is Rosh Chodesh. It's the first day of the Jewish month. From there we count manually how many days until it will be Passover. 14 days, right? And in 14 days we have to prepare for Leil HaSeder. So we have to count. If the witnesses came to the rabbis and said, Rabbi, we just saw the renewal of the moon now. If today it's, let's say it was today, what is it, Wednesday today? Mm-hmm. So Wednesday, so we count from Wednesday 14 days. Wednesday, 2 weeks from now, will be Erev Pesach. That's how it was, manually. So now, many witnesses came to Rabban Gamliel. He was sitting inside the building. And they came from the mountains. And they said, Rabbi, we just saw the renewal of the moon. All of them are standing in front of the rabbi, and he stands inside of the building. And he said to them, all of you are wrong. It cannot be. Why? Listen good. Amar lahem Rabban Gamliel, Kach mekublani mibet avi Abba. We know in tradition that it passed from father to son, and all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu in Mount Sinai. En chidusha shel levana. The renewal of the moon can never be less than 29 days and a half, and 2/3 of the hour, and 73 parts of the minute, which gives us exactly, in calculation, it gives us 29.530590. Remember, 29.530590000. That's the number according to the Torah. Why? 29 days, everybody know. And a half is 12 hours. 2/3 of the hours is 40 minutes. 73 parts of the minute, whatever it gives, 29.5300590. Now, this is an original copy of NASA. NASA published it. And that's, as you can see right here, Earth-Moon system. This is the original copy. And the calculation came in the end, let's make it bigger for you, it came to 29.530588. That's the research of NASA. The Torah say 29.530590. The American NASA, they say 530,588. What is it? 2/10,000 of a second. Take a second. Here. 1, 2. That's it. Second. That part, you have to cut to 10,000 equal pieces and take 2 of them out. Take a second, cut it to 10,000 slices, take 2 of them out. That's the difference between NASA and what the Torah say in a very primitive generation, that there's no NASA, no satellite, no telescope, nothing. But the Germans, are always more precise. They're very careful when they say something. So they came in 1965 in Berlin. Berlin, 1965. That's their calculation right here. What is it? 29.530589. It's a little bit closer to Hashem, the German. 1/10,000 of a second. And a few years ago, one scientist in my lecture told me that they already updated to the number that I show, but I never found the source. I wish he would send me the source. Therefore, I can't swear on that, but it doesn't matter. We know, you know what it means to calculate all the cycles of the moon, 3,300 years, and say it will never be less than 29.530590? Who would know such thing? Only the creator of the world. No one. And right next to it, it says if you don't keep the Sabbath, you have no share to the world to come. In billions of years of pleasure, you're going to lose for lighting fire on Shabbat. And right next to it, it says if one day you don't put tefillin, I put you in a section of the criminal Jews. Karkafta delo manichat tefillin, nikra poshea Israel begufo. And right next to it, it says a Jewish lady, she's a daughter of the king of the world. She cannot dress like an animal naked. She has to dress modest. She's a lady. She's a queen. Any queen you see in the world, don't go with mini skirt and short T-shirts. You know, it doesn't go that way. A queen dressed like Queen Elizabeth, even though she's a Goya. She will not go like this, or any other prime minister. Why? It's disrespectful. So this is what the laws of God in the Torah. And a Jew has to eat kosher. And a Jew cannot steal, and cannot speak bad against others, and cannot murder, and has to keep the laws of purity with his wife, and cannot do this and this and this and that. There's a list. And for that, I will reward you in your end. La'ativcha b'acharitecha. I will reward you in your end. Or it says, La'ativ lecha ulevanecha ad olam. Many Jews ask, where does it say in the Torah there's life after death? First of all, there are three mitzvot from the 613 laws that say, do not disturb the dead people and don't call their soul to ask them questions. What do you learn from that? If God said to us 3 different times in the Torah, don't call the dead, don't call their neshama, don't call their soul, it's a sin. So where are the dead people? They're not dead, they're somewhere in a different world. And another place it said that King Saul called the Samuel, the prophet, he called his soul. Tomorrow there was a big war with Amalek, he was very nervous what's going to be. So he brought the soul of prophet Samuel, it's in the Tanakh. And another place it says, La'ativ lecha ulevanecha ad olam. I will reward you and your children for eternity. What do you mean? Where does it say in the Torah there's life of eternity? It's few times in the Torah. La'ativ lecha ulevanecha ad olam. I will benefit you and your children for eternity. Not for 70 years, 70 lousy years, which 60 of them is agony and pain. Not here. And it says, La'ativcha b'acharitecha. I will reward you in your end. Where is that end? Do you see an old person walking like this with his stick, and God comes to him and says, Mr. Cohen, you finally reached 70 years old. From now on, your life will be paradise. That's it. Now, 2 years you enjoy. No. All the old people suffer more. More sicknesses, more problems. Their wife died, their husband died. So much problems. The old people suffer much more than young people in general. So where is this reward? What are you claiming? That Chas v'Shalom, God is a liar? He was not elected to the Congress yet. He wasn't. He's not a liar. Ani el ha'emet v'hatzedek. I'm the real God of justice. I will not receive bribe from anyone. Everyone will get what he deserves. I will benefit the righteous people who love me and keep my mitzvot. And I will destroy my enemies who don't keep my mitzvot. It's clear verses in the Torah. The problem of the Jewish people is that they never read the Torah. That's when people come to argue with me about what's allowed, what's not allowed, I say, take 3-4 hours of your time, read Sefer Dvarim, not the whole Torah. Just read the 5th book, Deuteronomy. Read it, read what God has to say to you. And you won't know where to hide from the embarrassment when you see how you live. You won't be able to breathe from embarrassment. You see how ungrateful you are to your Creator, you won't know where to hide if your conscience is still working. And remember, the Torah says like this, if you take all the pleasure of all the people, of all the generations combined, Jews, non-Jews, from the time of Adam until the end of the world, all the things they have, money, sports, women, knowledge, vacations, food, everything, any kind of pleasure, accumulate everything combined, will not be equal to the reward of the righteous Jew in 1 hour in the afterlife. 1 hour! It's endless, it's eternity. It's trillions of years, it's not even the beginning of the soul. But even 1 hour over there, it's greater than this entire world combined. You understand what we are going to lose if we're not Shomer Shabbat? Yeah. Where does it say it in the Torah? יפה שעה אחת של קורת רוח בעולם הבא מכל חיי העולם הזה. 1 hour of pleasure in the afterlife is greater than this entire world combined. Now, brothers and sisters, all of you, I will finish right now and give you time for questions. But I want to conclude with one sentence. Most of the Jews I met in my life, 99.9% of the Jews that I met in my life, those are secular, not because they're evil people, not because they're bad people, not because they want to be ungrateful people, not because they have all kinds of stupidity, no. Only one main reason, ignorance. They know computer, they know science, they know medicine, they know politics, they know sport, they know a lot of things. The most important thing in life, they have no idea what it is. They don't know who created them, they don't know body and soul, they don't know there's life after death, they don't know that Torah is divine and can be proven thousands of percent that no person was able to write it. They don't know that according to Torah, if someone violates Shabbat, is 100% a goy. They don't know it. Most Israelis that you come tell them, did you know that by you not keeping Shabbat, you put yourself in the status of a goy? You're not a Jew. It's like, crazy? What kind of rabbi you are? Get out of here. You're fanatic. You're strict. Then you read to him 12 times that it appears in the Torah. He gets the shock of his life. I didn't know that. How come no one say it? No one say it because they're afraid of your reaction. They're afraid you get angry. But I'm not afraid. I'm here to tell you the truth. You like it, you don't like it. I hope you would like it. You be honest with yourself. The Torah say 12 times more than anything else. לחלל שבת הרי הוא כגוי לכל דבר. Is חס ושלום have no share to the world to come. Where does it say it? Here. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי 6 ימים עשה השם את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. מחלליה, someone who makes Shabbat יום חול, מות יומת. Mot will be executed in this world, younger than what he's supposed to be, and yumat to the life of eternity. In the future, it will get executed again. ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מישראל, and I, God, will cut that Jewish soul out of the nation of Israel in the afterlife, which means he has no share to the world to come. If a person who doesn't keep Shabbat touch the wine is not kosher. You cannot use it for Kiddush anymore. No Jew is allowed to drink it. If a Mechalel Shabbat testified in a court, you cannot accept his testimony. If he died, you cannot bury him with Shomrei Shabbat Jews. You have to make a divider, separate division. You cannot bury him among the Shomrei Shabbat. If he wants a loan from you, Jew wants to ask a loan from another Jew, if the borrower is Mechalel Shabbat, a Jew that is Shomer Shabbat is not allowed to collect interest from a Jew that is Shomer Shabbat. If he does it, he loses the right to resurrect in the resurrection of the dead after the day of the Messiah. But if the borrower is Mechalel Shabbat, is not Shomer Shabbat, is 100% like a goy, you're allowed to charge him interest and you have no punishment. Why? Because in Shamayim, God called this one goy. It's not a Jew. However, there's only one difference between him and a goy. Two differences. One to his favor, one's against him. What's against him? If a Chinese idol worship Buddha, had a baby girl, and he gives gifts to all the gods in the world that he knows, the god of the Greeks, the god of the Chinese, to Buddha, to the cow, everyone of his belief, and he decided, in the time of Bet HaMikdash, to come to Israel and sacrifice, give it to the Kohen, sacrifice it, a thank you to God from me. They receive the sacrifice from the Goy, and they do it. if a Jew that is not Shomer Shabbat bring a sacrifice, you can see in the laws in the Rambam, you're not allowed to accept it from him. So you see that he's even worse status than a Goy, that is not a Jew bichlal. However, if he becomes Shomer Shabbat, right away, he say, okay, I'm ashamed. I didn't know what Shabbat is. No one told me that. I grew up secular. Nobody knows about it. So, bli neder, from now on, I don't mechalel Shabbat anymore. As soon as he say that, right away, he goes back to a kosher status. He doesn't need to convert like the Goy 2 years. The Goy will keep Shabbat all his life, he's still a Goy. A Jew started to keep Shabbat better than that. If today it's Wednesday, and one of you is not Shomer Shabbat, will say right now, you know what, that's it, I got my proofs, I'm going to start keeping Shabbat, and Chas v'Shalom, tomorrow he died. He didn't get to Shabbat. He didn't keep one Shabbat in his life. He's already got saved. Because God knows that in a time that he said, I regret that I didn't keep Shabbat, and now I'm accepting it, did not keep. It's already a complete different status. And his entire trial is different. However, if he dies Mechalel Shabbat, there's no chance whatsoever that he can enter the afterlife, life of eternity, because Mechalel Shabbat en lo chelek laolam haba. It's been written hundreds of times in all the Jewish books in history. No one contradict it. Don't believe any religious people who comes and tell you don't believe it, it's not true. They're lying. They want your donations. And they're afraid that if they tell you that, you hate them. I don't want anything from you. No donation, no nothing. I'm even giving you hundreds of CDs for free. It costs me $1 each to make. So I'm not interested in anything. Don't write comments about me, good ones. You can write whatever you want, bad ones. But I don't need your favors, nothing. I just need one thing. Each one of you will think, where am I heading to? Did he supply me with enough proofs? If you still have doubts, watch the entire film. I have another 50 proofs over there. We didn't have in 2 hours time to conclude everything. But I'm telling you 1,000,000,000%. I've been checking hundreds of times. Hoping, in the beginning, not today, hoping that I can catch one mistake in the Torah that will release me from living according to a book of instruction. Because everyone wants to do whatever they like. But that's it. That's the book of God, and you have to live with that. You know why they say, you can't beat him, join him. To fight against God, you can't. You pay a heavy price. Join him, it's very sweet. Ta'amuru ki tov Hashem. If you taste, it will be delicious, delicious. 3-4 months you keep it, you're starting to change your entire cycle. You can't live without it. Those of you who start keeping Shabbat can back me up on it. All week you wait for Shabbat. Why? It's the foundation of Judaism. It's foundation of everything. You should know that. It's true, and everyone who start keeping Shabbat, maximum 3 months it takes to get used to it. And after that, for thousands of dollars, you won't agree to violate Shabbat. Shabbat היא מקור הברכה, oti beni uvenechem. The word Shabbat, shin bet taf. It's abbreviation, ראשי תיבות, shin, Shabbat, bet, brit, taf, tefillin. 3 mitzvot, the Torah say, oti beni uvenechem. No other mitzvah, the Torah say, oti beni uvenechem. Only 3. Shabbat, ושמרו בני ישראל, oti beni uvenechem. ברית מילה והיה לאות בבשר עורלתכם, תפילין והיה לאות על ידיך. אות in Hebrew means a sign. What makes you Jewish? What makes you my son? What makes you a little God like me? I created the world in 6 days, and in the 7 days I rested, so I want you to be like me. 6 days you do all מלאכתך, everything you have to do. וביום השביעי שבת להשם אלוקיך. Don't do this, don't do that, whatever the list is. And because you're going to be like me, I will reward you endlessly. Just enjoy, sleep, eat, come sing in a synagogue, take a walk with your wife, sit, play with your children, have guests, enjoy the chulent, and for that, I will reward you endlessly. Most Jews in the world do not know that the punishment of Mechalel Shabbat is worse than the punishment of a murderer in the Torah. Why? Because when we went to school in Israel, our teachers were Russian communists. This is the ones who started Israel 30, 40, 50 years ago. They made the system. And the system in Israel, kibbutz, moshav, this is all Russian idea. So in Israel, they taught you that you came from the monkey. They taught you, when they finally taught you Torah, they made it like it's Shakespeare. That people, kids, I know I was in a system, that kids would think it's not really a God and this is a divine book. It's Abraham met Sarah, they fell in love, they went to the bar, they went to the disco, there was an after party. This is the way kids think. 2 minutes later, there was a monkey, and the monkey started to rise, and his tail became shorter, all this nonsense. And the kids get very confused. But those teachers in a school in Israel and in a public school of America, they all told us, be careful not to be a murderer. Why? A murderer, everyone agrees, is a despicable human being. So everyone say, be careful not to be a murderer, be careful not to be a murderer. But they never told us, be careful not to be a Mechalel Shabbat. Why? Nobody told me, Mechalel Shabbat has a bigger punishment in the Torah. So just in case you didn't know, the Torah writes about a murderer 3 times. It writes about Mechalel Shabbat 12 times. You should not kill, it's not a covenant between us and God. But you should not violate Shabbat, is a covenant. The punishment of Mechalel Shabbat is execution by stoning. The punishment of a murderer, it's a sword, it's a much easier punishment. All the restrictions about Mechalel Shabbat in the Torah are much worse than the restrictions against a murderer. In the 10 commandments, it goes from the most important to the least important. The 4th commandment is you should observe the Sabbath. The 6th one is you should not kill. And there's hundreds of other examples that leaves no doubt that in the eyes of God, the creator of the world, the one who supplies us with oxygen and food and money and kids and marriage and everything that we have, in his eyes, being a Mechalel Shabbat is a bigger crime than being a murderer. Now you decide. You want to stay what you are, or you want to start making repentance and start changing and coming to lectures and going to my website. There's 1,000 lectures over there in English and in Hebrew. You begin to listen every day to one lecture, and in 3 months from now, it will be more than clear, the picture. Richie? Will be clear or not? 100%, right? Very good. 100%, right? Here I see some familiar faces, right or wrong? Baruch Hashem. Be'ezrat Hashem, any questions before we finished?
Sheila.
Yeah, in English. Yeah.
If you're a Shomer Shabbat,
yes,
and you invite someone over and
it's not Shomer Shabbat. You have to set a place for him to stay for Shabbat.
I do.
If he decides to leave, it's his sin, not yours. If you put him a place to sleep by you, by the neighbor, which means you released yourself from his crime. If you did not give him a place to sleep, you forced him to violate the Shabbat, so then you become a part of the sin. But the main sin, it's his. But you also have a sin, לפני עיוור לא תיתן מכשול. Or sometimes it could be מסייע לעוברי עבירה, which is another problem. Yes?
But if he has a chazakah, he does it three or more times. Like you invited him 3 times and all the time.
After 3 times, if every time he leaves, you're not allowed to invite him anymore. You're right. If 3 times you give him a place to sleep and he still continue to live, you're not allowed to invite him anymore to your house for Shabbat. Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah.
If somebody doesn't keep Shabbat and they won't hear Kiddush unless you invite them, but you know that if you invite them, they're going to drive, should you invite them or just not?
No. The Kiddush doesn't help them anyway. You know what's the idea of Kiddush? Kiddush means to sanctify Shabbat. We make a ceremony. God, I'm listening to what you told me. You told me to make Shabbat holy. לקדש את השבת במילים הנאמרים על היין. So I'm holding a glass of wine, which is a fruit of Etz Hadat, the first fruit of the sin of Adam. So I'm holding a glass of wine, and I'm saying words from the Torah that make Shabbat holy. But if a minute later I get in a car and start the engine, that's called lo tevaharu esh b'yom HaShabbat. Better I won't make Kiddush, and if I make Kiddush and right after that get in the car. Same thing, people who light candles. If they plan to keep the entire Shabbat, so for 2 or 3 months, they're allowed to light candles until eventually they become Shomer Shabbat. But if they're not planning to become Shomer Shabbat, don't light candles. Don't make a fool out of you. Candles mean, God, I'm accepting the holiness of Shabbat. You cannot come in a court in front of Judge Williams and say, dear Judge, I'm accepting the rule of your court in my life. And 2 minutes later, you spit in his face or throw a shoe at his head. It doesn't make sense. In the beginning, maybe they understand you're not capable of understanding. But after 2 months, every time you make a declaration, you throw a shoe at the judge, it's better you don't come in front of the judge and don't embarrass yourself. You have a question?
Yes. So you're saying it's better to not do anything rather than like...
That's not what I said. It's better to keep Shabbat, and it's better if a person violates Shabbat and now he's going to violate less than before, or it's also better. I just spoke about Kiddush and Adlakat Nerot, because this is a ceremony. That's a declaration.
But it's
declaring the lie, declaring and doing the opposite of your declaration, better not to declare. If two people stand in front of a judge, one say to the judge, I love you so much, you're a fair judge, and threw a shoe at him, and the other one say, I don't accept the right of the court to judge me, and threw a shoe, who will get a bigger punishment? The one who made a beautiful declaration and then threw a shoe, or the one who did not make any declaration? Excuse me?
I don't think lighting candles is about punishment or reward. I think that God told women to light candles before Shabbat.
No, God didn't tell women to light candles. Candles is a rabbinical law. It doesn't say in the Shabbat to light candles.
Is technically the word of God.
Just remember, the rabbis made a law that in the beginning of Shabbat, every house would light candle for the respect of Shabbat. So now I said, if a person plan every Shabbat he becomes better, is in the process of becoming Shomer Shabbat, so very good. He lights the candle of Shabbat and every Shabbat he's progressing.
Women shouldn't light candles if they're not going to keep Shabbat.
If they know after 2 or 3 months that they're not going to keep, it doesn't help them anything. The opposite, and it makes them hypocrite. Because
I don't think that's hypocritical at all. I think that's a woman doing
you know that most secular Jew light Shabbat candle in Shabbat? Do you know that? If Shabbat started at 4:30,
secular Jews. It's about anyone who women who light candles before Shabbat is.
as after 3 months, it's not Niyah Lishma. No, what I'm saying to you is like this. Today, for instance, tomorrow, Shabbat, not tomorrow, on Friday, Shabbat will be 4:31. Most secular Jews who light candles on Shabbat, they come from work around 6, 7. So when they get home, they light Shabbat candle inside Shabbat, which, which is a very serious violation from the Torah, because the Torah says, Lo tevaru esh b'chol moshvotechem. By lighting the Shabbat candle in Shabbat is 1 billion times bigger sin than a mitzvah. So it's like losing $1 billion to make $1.
Okay, but
You understand?
I'm talking about a woman who lights it at the correct time.
Okay, I'm saying if she light it in a correct time as a part of a progressing process, it's good. If she stay mechalel Shabbat for the rest of her life, it doesn't help her in any way. If she get,
it's the fact that she's doing her mitzvah as a
it's not a mitzvah. You don't get it. A mitzvah is only when you do it correctly. Lighting Shabbos candle, it's a declaration that I'm accepting the holiness of Shabbat. It means I'm starting to keep Shabbat. That's what it means, candle lighting. When you light, it's like saying, God, I'm starting to keep your Shabbat. And a minute later, he lights cigarette or he drive in a car. So what's the point?
The fact that in the moment she is starting to keep Shabbat. It doesn't matter what happens after that. I don't think it negates.
She's starting or not? If she's starting, it's very good.
I don't think it negates the fact that she's doing a mitzvah in that moment.
No, you don't understand. The some mitzvot, that is a process. It's not a second. It's a process. It's a beginning of a process. If you're not planning to start the process or to continue the process, better not to start and make yourself look like hypocrite. Because by declaration, I'm starting the covenant and you're actually violating the covenant. So what's the point?
No, but you never know. You never know. The concept.
If you want to light candle, just light candles. Go ahead, next.
Regarding the concept that you're talking about,
Yeah.
if a person is doing it, what they do, they're starting it, they don't know where it's going to go.
I said after 3 months. Remember, after 3 months, if there's no progress even by 1%, that means they have no plan to keep.
Progress. You don't have to
I
fully keep
understand.
it.
I didn't say to be fully. I said that every Shabbat is a little bit better than the other one.
That's not my
You gotta
question.
keep learning.
Yeah.
You wouldn't fall under show, Ishma Ba'ushma.
I say, מתוך שלא בא לשמה, you see some kind of a progress. But after 3 months, there was 12 Shabbatot. The 12th Shabbat is the same one like the first one. It doesn't become lishma. So what's the point? What's the point of declaring a lie? Anyway, we're done with tonight's lecture. Thank you very much for having us here. Bezrat Hashem, everyone who needs CDs, please take for free. Take some for your children. Thank you very much. All the best.